Well, thank you. Welcome, everyone. This is the July 1st workshop, and the Murrieta City Council is now called to order. Madam City Clerk, please call roll.
Councilmember DeForest.
Here.
Councilmember Stone. Councilmember Holliday.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lavelle.
Here.
Mayor Warren.
Here.
Let the record reflect all members are present with the exception of Councilmember Stone with an excused absence.
Thank you very much. Hi, staff. Welcome. We're now going to do our workshop, Emergency Management 101 presentation. Take it away.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Warren. Thank you, Council, for having us here this afternoon. I usually say evening, but this afternoon. We're here this afternoon to present to you basically a broad overview of emergency operations in the city of Murrieta. Joining me today is Deputy Fire Chief Mike Lopez over here and our Disaster Preparedness Coordinator, Rachel Hollinger. We're going to take you through an emergency. We're going to start by talking about large-scale emergencies and how we handle those within the city of Murrieta, what agreements we have in place, how we work with our partners on a daily basis. We're not reminded that this is something that can happen regularly, as we saw 2 columns of smoke from our city yesterday. This happens in Riverside County. We have these large-scale events, and so we need to be prepared within our own city to be part of the response to these incidents. So we're going to go through that, and then we're going to talk about how the Emergency Operations Center is activated and how it supports emergency operations and response operations in our city and how we tie those 2 things together. So you have a great panel with us here today to present this. I'm going to start with our Deputy Fire Chief, Mike Lopez. Chief Lopez is in charge of fire department operations. So basically we like to say that anything that rolls and squirts water, he is in charge of. But there's so much more. It's about emergency response and all of the suppression we do. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Lopez.
Thank you, Chief Malloy. Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor Warren, members of City Council, and City Manager Justin Clifton. Thank you very much for having me and giving me the opportunity to speak today. In the next few minutes, I will be showing you how we keep emergencies from turning into disasters. And it's by using systems like automatic aid, mutual aid, and the incident command system, which help us coordinate effectively and efficiently. Emergencies don't care about city boundaries. For instance, fires, floods, hazmat, they don't stop at the "now you're leaving Murrieta" sign. What people expect is immediate action. You call, we come, no matter where it comes from. That's why we lean on automatic aid, mutual aid, and a playbook called ICS. These systems ensure that we get the right resources to the right place immediately. So I'm going to start with automatic aid. Automatic aid is exactly what it sounds like. It's a pre-existing agreement that we have that will send the closest available unit regardless of boundary. So City Council signed an automatic aid agreement with the City of Riverside in 2023. Think about it. Its automatic aid is literally the closest rig wins. Dispatch seeks the closest and launches them. Doesn't matter what patch we're wearing on the sleeve. No phone calls, no paperwork, just get wheels rolling, and it saves time. So, for instance, let's say there's a house fire right on the border of Murrieta. Whichever engine is closest, Murrieta will send whichever engine, even if it's from another agency. So in this case, if Temecula's engine is 2 blocks from that incident, they go. We cover their side when the tables turn. Neighbors helping neighbors. Where have I heard that before? So a good example is Los Alamos fire is a great example of automatic aid. Mutual aid. When the incident outgrows our own crews, let's say for wildfires, a big storm, or a long haul hazmat, we request mutual aid, which is a formal ask request for more people, more resources from across the county and even the state. This is a formal system where we request help, not just from the next city over, but from the region or the state. Potentially from the region, or I'm sorry, excuse me. A good example is the Tanaha fire. That Tanaha fire was resources from throughout the state. And how do we get those resources? Well, we utilize the California mutual aid system. California's system is huge and it's battle tested. It's one of the most robust systems in the country. Requests flow through the operational area to help show us that we're organized, and it's not just having 10 engines and asking where to park. It's pretty detailed. But where does it all stand? It stands with the incident command system. It's the glue. It's what holds all of us together. It provides clear roles, operations, planning, logistics, and finance. This allows for everyone to know who is steering this ship. ICS connects directly with our Emergency Operations Center. So when things escalate, our field crews and city leadership are speaking the same language and following the same plan. So with that being said, utilizing Emergency Operations Center, I present to you our Emergency Preparedness Coordinator, Rachel Hollinger.
Thank you, Chief Lopez. Good afternoon, City Council, City Managers, Madam Clerks. I'm going to discuss the Emergency Operations Center. Going forward, you'll hear me refer to it as our EOC. So what is an EOC? It serves as a primary function for information and data collection distribution, resource coordination, cross-agency coordination, so you may see us speaking with Temecula, Lake Elsinore, neighboring cities working an incident. We do incident and recovery planning. The location of our EOC is at PD with our alternate location at Station 4, and then it may also be virtual. And when we're utilizing it virtually, we operate on the Microsoft Teams platform. Last year, we activated for 5 different incidents, and so far we've activated the EOC twice this year. So what is the purpose? We coordinate the on-scene support for the incident command. So we're helping the incident commander get the resources that he needs. When local resources aren't available, we'll go to other EOCs and jurisdictions and ask for support. So this starts at the local level. If the local level's unavailable to help facilitate, then we go to the county will ask the state, and all the way up to the federal level if need be. So as I mentioned, it exists at all levels of government. An EOC can also carry out incident command functions when operations are not available on scene. So for example, if we're having a cyber incident or COVID-19, extreme heat, there's not a physical response occurring. In that type of situation, that's when the EOC will take on the incident command function. We help share the load with the IC by performing operations such as emergency shelters or points of distribution. Decisions made are usually not tactical. We're not telling the incident command to go lay fire hose over here to put out the fire. It's more support related. So what is the role? We help establish, maintain, and share situational awareness. We provide the big picture, sometimes referred to as the common operating picture, where we gather all the details together. We communicate current policy or policy decisions to resolve conflicting policies. And this is where the City Council comes in, but we'll get more into that a little bit later. We provide communications and messaging support, managing public information issues and media requests. This is one of the biggest response capabilities that we have within any incident, is that public information piece. We authorize emergency expenditures when appropriate and track incident costs and other administrative issues. We promote resource identification and assignment. With the Los Alamos fire, there was over 350 resources assigned, so it can be a big task. It provides a single location for multi-agency coordination. Officials can more easily meet, make decisions, and coordinate activities. We're getting all the players in the room together. So what makes an EOC effective? We want to know the likely threats and hazards the jurisdiction faces. And this is what comes in with our local hazard mitigation plan. It identifies over 20 different threats and hazards that Murrieta could potentially face. We have personnel and staffing requirements. We want to make sure we have all of our positions in the EOC filled with primary and alternate representatives. We want to have the right staff and the right roles. Facility requirements. Is our facility secure? Is it big enough to support all the staff of the EOC? Equipment requirements. Do we have the laptops that we need? Audiovisual capabilities. Established EOC's authorities and procedures. Do we have checklists for people to do their job? Do we have a chain of command within the EOC? And communication. Are we able to communicate with one another internally as well with the external partners? Our city standard operating procedures, often referred to as our SOPs. Here's some checklists that we put together to help us guide us through these type of different incidents. So we have a civil unrest SOP, Genesis disaster, and Genesis law and order, which dictate how fire and law enforcement will utilize the evacuation and alert and warning system. We have a large animal evacuation SOP and public emergency communications. Some of the emergency plans we have in the city, as I previously mentioned, is our local hazard mitigation plan, our emergency operations plan, which identifies how we respond to an emergency, the City of Murrieta Emergency Action Plan, which outlines how employees and visitors will respond to specific emergencies, and the Town Square Emergency Action Plan. So when we have large gatherings at Town Square, we have a guide to identify how we're going to respond to those types of emergencies. So activation. An EOC can be activated for various reasons based on the needs of the jurisdiction, organization, or incident commander. The IC indicates the incident could expand rapidly, involving cascading effects or require additional resources. An incident is imminent, such as a slow river flooding, predictions of hazardous weather, or elevated threat levels. An example of when we did this was just in January when we had the high wind PSPS event. We went ahead and activated ahead of the incident. Thresholds described in our emergency operations plan. So if the EOP says we need to activate if XYZ occurs, and that occurs, we'll go ahead and activate the EOC. If there's going to be significant impacts anticipated to our population, if more than one jurisdiction becomes involved in an incident, it becomes a unified command or an area command, and we'll go ahead and activate the EOC to help facilitate that. It can be activated by the city managers, the fire or police chief, or myself. There's different activation levels, and determining what level of activation we choose is going to be based on the incident complexity, resource needs, and the ICS structure. There's management watch, and that's going to consist of the management section and the section chiefs. There's level 3, which is the lowest level of activation. That's going to be the management section, the section chiefs, and maybe a few additional positions. For example, with the Fig Fire, we activated to a level 3. We brought in the management section, the section chiefs, but we also activated the mass care and shelter and the animal care unit because there was evacuations taking place and we needed that additional support to facilitate that. There's a level 2 evacuation, which is going to be the majority or at least half the EOC activated. And a level 1 incident is going to be all hands on deck. And it's typically multi-operational periods. Within operational periods, it's going to be 12 hours or more. Factors that are considered when determining the appropriate activation, as I said, incident complexity, resource needs, ICS structure. So the EOC structure mimics the ICS structure. We have the management section, And under that is the EOC director, which is Justin Clifton or Kristen Crane. We have the EOC manager, which is myself, and my backup is Casey Bostrom, who is our communications manager. And we also have a mutual aid agreement that you guys helped sign last year with the city of Temecula, where we are each other's alternates as well. We have the liaison, business liaison, public information officer, and safety officer. And then for the big picture of the other sections, this can be remembered as FLOP. So we have finance for the F, there are payers. L, logistics, are getters, they're the ones responsible of getting the resources. Operations are our doers, and the planning are our thinkers, FLOP. EOC training. So you've been assigned to the EOC staff. What's next? All EOC staff are expected to take independent study courses. So indicated on the slides here, those start with IS. This can be done virtually through the FEMA website. So IS 200, the basic incident command system for initial response. Then there's ICS 300. This is an in-person class, and we actually just hosted it 2 weeks ago. The majority of our EOC members were able to go through and get certified on ICS 300. Then we have IS 2200 and localized initial training. The localized initial training is with me over at PD, and it's about 2 to 4 hours of just how do we operate the city within, how do we operate the EOC within the city of Murrieta. Since the Los Alamos fire, when it was, I believe, a Friday, 4 o'clock on the afternoon when we activated the EOC, a lot of the staff members were already gone. So a quick pool of who was left were the ones that ended up in the EOC initially. And a lot of those people had never been in the EOC, never heard of it. So what we implemented over the last few months is now all staff will receive the initial localized training with me, so that if that ever happens again, they at least have some familiarity of what they need to do. Management and section leads do the GES 300 intermediate EOC functions, ICS 400 advanced ICS command, and then we accomplish 2 exercises annually at a minimum. So last year we did, in May we did a power outage exercise, and then in November we did a wildfire exercise. We also conduct the Great Shakeout evacuation drill on an annual basis. The exercises and the hazards are chosen from the LHMP and our priority hazards. So council roles. What is it that we hope that council can accomplish during an emergency incident? So we want to share confirmed media information approved by the PIO, approved by our public information officer. The reason we ask that you share approved information is there's lots of different data points that are coming in during a hazard. And we have to confirm that what we're receiving is actually actual intelligence. It's verified information. Then what we do is we take the essential elements of that and we choose what we're going to disseminate internally, what we're going to disseminate to external agencies, and then what actually is needed to go out to the public. We take a look at the emergency policies. So some of the emergency policies that may be necessary, if we took a look at the LA civil unrest incident, they enacted a curfew. That could potentially be something that City Council would provide. There's also price gouging prevention policies we may enact. Other things would be minimizing any red tape for emergency funding or contracts. And then an emergency declaration as well. So let's talk about an emergency declaration. We have a timeline here. Day 0 is when the incident happens. Something occurs that causes major damage beyond the local level that we can support. Day 1 to 3, this city manager proclaims a local emergency. And we could potentially skip this step. City Council could go right into proclaiming. It doesn't necessarily have to be the city manager, but say you're unavailable to do an emergency meeting, Mr. Clifton can go ahead and declare initially. Day 4 to 7, council meets and ratifies the emergency. So regardless, we have 7 days to ratify that emergency declaration. The ongoing is every 60 days, City Council will review and renew that declaration. And we did just recently find a little bit of a conflict with our municipal code. Our municipal code states every 14 days, which generously exceeds the California state requirement. So we're going to be looking to scale that back to the state minimum of 60 days. After that, if the recovery is complete, we can go ahead and terminate the proclamation. Upcoming events we have is we're looking to facilitate an EOC exercise in August to incorporate some of the ICS 300 skills our EOC staff just learned. We're looking at hosting a large animal evacuation community training, so in the form of getting a town hall together and potentially a webinar as well, and we're coordinating with other agencies to make that happen. You may see brochures in front of you of some of the public education we put together for the large animal evacuation process. We're going to continue with our accredited public education program. So we do many, many hours each year of public outreach. It could be in the form of going out to community events and speaking with community members. We could set up tables at some of our special events here in the cities. It's also in the form of electronic outreach via our social media, more Murrieta newsletter. We're also looking to enhance and expand our EOC technologies and disaster supplies. There's been a lot of legislation that has come out that needs for us to more or less put the onus on us of preparing for things like mass care shelters and animal care shelters. Now, whenever we have a mass care shelter, we have to have an animal care shelter available. And granted, we do have pre-existing agreements in place, but if it's a multi-jurisdictional hazard, some of those things can be easily overwhelmed, and we need to be able to support our community on our own. And with that, I want to do a brief little plug on Genesis. So I'm sure Chief Malloy has been up here multiple times preaching about Genesis. This is our evacuation and alert and warning software. So we say know your zone, which refers to the evacuation zones within the city. Genesis Protect is the public-facing app that can be downloaded onto the phones. With the app, you'll be able to see any zone changes that we do. So if we do an evacuation order, if we do a shelter in place, or we do an evacuation warning, that'll populate on the app. It'll also have our points of interest. If we have a shelter stood up, if we have staging areas, maybe there's a road closures, all that can be put into Genesis as well. So Genesis Protect is the app, and then we have Alert Rivco. Alert Rivco is different in that it's a registration. So Genesis Protect works by, if I were to select MUR 2051 for an evacuation order, it's going to target all the cell phones within that zone specifically. So if you are visiting friends and family in Corona, you're not going to get that ping that there's an evacuation order for where your house is. You can register with Alert Rivco that if you're out of the area, you will still get those alerts. So it's a registration, not an app. And with that, I just want to say some of the things we discussed, the training and all that for the employees. We want to thank you for your time for allowing the employees that this isn't their typical day-to-day, the ones that are assigned to the EOC staff. So there's a lot of training in addition to the training that they need to perform their primary roles that they have to do in the EOC. And that training also comes at a cost of not only time, but sometimes funding. So we appreciate City Council's support and the City Manager's Office in supporting making that happen for our members. Chief Malloy.
Thank you both. Chief Lopez and Rachel, I appreciate you taking the time today to present this. And I hope that we've showed you just this high-level overview of how we prepare for emergency response in our city, how we respond to emergency responses, and then how we recover from that as well. Our success is a result of excellent planning, and that's just put very simply. All of these steps are purposeful and by design. We do a lot of work to make sure that we have everything in place so when a disaster does strike, and I say does strike because we know we live in an area where we will see these disasters, We have everything in place to make sure that we can deal with that disaster effectively. And I have a great team up here with me that does this every single day for the city. This is the work that they do every single day. But we understand that none of this would be possible without an incredibly supportive city manager and city council. We are very fortunate to work in a city like Murrieta, where all of you have made such an investment into public safety. So we want to honor that by always putting our best foot forward and always offering the best services to both you and to the residents that we serve in the city. And we think we do that pretty effectively here. So with that, we are going to open it to questions. I know we covered a lot of slides. And if there's anything, again, this was very high level. Each one of these bullets has a plan behind it that's 50 pages long.
I'll
so
bet.
We didn't want to have all of those linked for you this evening.
Darn. Thank you. Well done. And I know there's a lot that goes into this. And I know when an emergency does hit us, and we have had several, it seems to go very smoothly. And if there are hiccups, the public doesn't see that. So that's from good leadership and good planning. That just doesn't happen because you blink your eye and say, don't let anything go wrong, because things do go wrong. But I do have a couple of questions, and so does everybody else. So why don't we start with in the queue with Councilmember Holliday.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's going to shock you that I have financial questions, which is not the most important thing in an emergency, but I was just curious, for the auto aid and a mutual aid, do we share costs with that? Is it different between the two? How does that work?
Yeah, there's certainly a short answer or a long answer. I'll give you the in-between answer if that works.
Sure.
So they are different by design. Automatic aid is really designed for immediate effective response and to keep a small disaster a small disaster. If an event goes over 12 hours, then we start to pay for those resources based on automatic aid or mutual aid. But we have different agreements built in there. So we do have what's called the Wildland Protection Agreement, which is part of our auto aid agreements we have in place. Again, all of these are pre-existing signed agreements, so we don't have to discuss them when they happen. But with our Wildland Protection Agreement, we pay to have coverage for certain areas of the city automatically covered for CAL FIRE responses. And what that gets us is the things that we don't have access to, like aircraft, like bulldozers, like hand crews. We have those resources. We've already effectively paid for them because we pay this agreement every single year. And there are many cities in Riverside County that have this agreement with CAL FIRE, so we don't have to stand up our own aircraft division because we do need aircraft, as we saw in the Alamos Fire video there. Those do come in.
It would be cool, though.
It would be cool, but it would. Maybe we could get the drones to start dropping some retardant. But to answer your question, really in the fire service, we try to do as much as we can ourselves. But when you do pass that threshold, you do have to start paying for those personnel, and that time does come after 12 hours, with the exception of the WPA. We get the first 24 hours free.
Okay, thank you. And for the standing up the EOC at various different levels, there's a cost for that as well, right?
Associated man hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Holliday. Mayor Pro Tem LaBelle.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, it's no secret that I follow CrossFit as methodology for physical training. They have this saying, prepare for the unknown and the unknowable. And what you try to do as a trainer is you find kinks in the armor. And this EOC plan, it looks like you guys have literally looked at every single possible need the city could have or would have in these types of situations. Is there any gaps? Do we see anything that we would need more of in the future?
I think one of the largest gaps, you know, on the fire side, on the response side, we have built-in operational periods, and we have the support of you bring in more units and you continually switch every 12 or 24 hours based on the operational period that's selected for that fire. With the EOC, it's not quite like that because we only have the personnel that we have. So one of the things we do in EOC planning is a continuity of operations planning as well. Not just how are you going to support your EOC during that response, but how are you going to support the essential city functions during EOC response? So where the gap comes is just in the staffing of those two things. And that's hard to overcome. And that's where we would lean on the city to make some of those policy decisions, like, will you support us closing parts of the city because we're using our personnel to manage the disaster at this time? And that's one of the major gaps, is how do you keep all functions running in the face of a disaster? And those disasters can vary. A wildland fire on the hill is different than an earthquake in the city and how it impacts our public.
And so the personnel being the biggest component of this, equipment-wise, you don't think we need hovercrafts or Tesla robots or helicopters, like all that? Like,
What's that? Yeah, as Rachel mentioned during her presentation, the onus of mass care has been pushed onto municipalities more than it used to be. So that is one thing that we're looking at, how we're going to stand up. We do have some agreements in place that, like with some of our larger big box retailers, that we have kind of during a disaster, we have first rights to get some care supplies. But that is something that we're looking at, how we can not just purchase, but store those, rotate those mass care supplies. And as far as other equipment, there's contracts for everything. We can contract out for services for, large equipment, masticators, bulldozers. One of the problems you run into, though, is in any large-scale disaster, is you are just one of the many people.
Yeah.
So though not things that we directly need for the fire department, there's a lot that we would support the city having in its cache. Bulldozers, tractors are always things that we need during disasters that we don't actually own as part of the city functions.
okay, that's reassuring. I mean, it certainly does seem like every angle has been thought about, and I really appreciate the diligence from your team and all the city staff that are involved. And I think there's one piece that was left out, though, and it was city council driving the fire trucks. And when that happens?
Emergency declaration, I think?
Yeah.
Tiller truck.
The tiller truck? Ron, you gonna drive the back for me?
I'm going to fly the drone.
You're gonna fly the drone? Okay, deal. All right, that's all I have. Thank you all
We're in
for the information.
We could look into a Black Hawk.
Now we're getting out of here.
I vote yes.
If I could just add on to that, I
I'm sorry,
think
you're not in the queue. Yes,
I
sir.
yield.
Go ahead.
I think the training analogy is a really good one. I think sometimes what we hear from members of our community, and so it's worth kind of mentioning for them, is that do you have an exact plan so that if scenario A happens, response B will immediately follow? And we do have elements of plans, but what we're really trying to do is be prepared. The same way that someone who trains physically is trying to be prepared for any physical demand you may need. The drills do that in little bits and pieces, but when you actually need those skills, you can't always plan exactly for the one incident. You can be as prepared as possible. So that's really what we're trying to do. That's right. With the training, with the equipment, and there too, when you're talking about an incident ranging from a typical fire to a massive earthquake, to a flood or prolonged electrical outages, the challenges are all different. So yes, we practice. Yes, we have a lot of scenarios and checklists. I appreciate the measure of confidence, but I would also add that, each situation is unique, calls for a different use of different skills, different equipment. We do our best to be generally prepared, knowing that when it actually happens, we go into go mode and figure out where the gaps are from there and fill them.
Thank you. Are you complete? Okay, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Oh, look.
Oh, just
Mr. He's in there. Wow, that was magical. That was really good. Councilmember DeForest.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you so much for your presentation. And I've sat through a couple of the large animal evacuation meetings, which, everybody has their opinion on how things should be done. And I want to thank you for taking the reins. For taking the reins and moving that forward and making sure that those people are comfortable with, moving a lot of very large livestock around. So I want to thank you for those meetings first and foremost. The other thing is so, having livestock and being on a ranch, I do have Pulse Point. Every time we go somewhere, we're out of town, Pulse Point, I've put our address in there so I can figure out what's going on. Because I never got contacted by the Genesis until the one fire happened over here, right along the
The
Jefferson and
Fig Fire.
Fig Fire, yes, thank you. So And then I started getting, but it was because I was so close and because my cell phone was there. My husband was not home and he didn't know what was going on. So that was kind of interesting. So how could you tell the public maybe that's listening to this, that's interested in maybe understanding like, hey, I'm on vacation and I have someone feeding and cleaning for me, but necessarily how do I utilize and what system would be more advantageous?
So good, very good question, and an evolving space. Genesis is only a year old for its implementation in Riverside County. It is evolving. I'll get to that in a second. Specifically though, Alert Rivco is designed exactly for what you're talking about. It is a registration, it's opt-in. The QR code is there, you scan it, you go on their website, you register for your address, you put in your contact information. This also drives reverse 911. It's that system. So it ties people through their cellular devices or whatever contact method they want to an address. Now, following up on that, Genesis had an update last week. By chance, I actually looked at the update notes and the 180 app updates I had on my phone, and it said like favorite location. So I actually logged into Genesis. Genesis now allows you to put a zone or an address in as a favorite. So and I have not tested this yet, but when you're if you put your home in and you're out of the area, you will be notified by Genesis when you have something going on in or near your zone.
Nice, nice.
So, and another app that's not up here that we always mention is Watch Duty, which is a private organization that's developed an app that shares fire information, and they're really doing a great job of sharing information with the public. So that's always an option as well.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying which one to use and how to use them. The other thing is, so as a council member, we are representing our district and we're representing the people, and the community knows that they can come to me or come to any one of us, right? So, I mean, fire happens in Greer and they're going to go to John. You know, something breaks out near Cindy and she's going to be bombarded. And that's what happened with the Fig Fire. So I felt, because yes, I was watching it for evacuating myself, but I also felt like I was a bit in the dark. So I couldn't tell people exactly what was going on. I wasn't part of the EOC, not necessarily that I want to be in the midst of that, but I do feel as a council member, I really should be a little bit more, because I'm the one who could push out information. I'm the one with 1,500 people on my Facebook alone that are, you know, I'm the one that has West Murrieta, all the phone numbers and everything. So, I mean, I truly could push out a Bear Creek like that, you know, so faster than they would get their alerts on the phone. So how can we incorporate council members into helping, also allowing us to, you know, like you say, bulldozers are needed. Well, we have 3 tractors and, you know, cargo trailers, you know, 2 horse trailers. I mean, which all could be utilized in an emergency, which, you know, we would certainly be advantageous of. So how could you bring us as council members in the niche a little bit more?
Sure. I think the answer to that is we have to put a little more effort into our PIO messaging and how to get that messaging directed to all of you. And that's something we'll certainly take back. The Fig Fire was interesting because it was after hours and it happened like that. And we caught it pretty quickly, but we had to evacuate a large area because of how quickly it was moving, high winds, after hours. So it took a little bit to get that PIO messaging part up. The one thing I will say, in the incipient phase of incidents, we are always behind the ball. No matter how well you plan, it takes a while to get resources there, to get suppression units in place, and to get messaging going. It can take up to 30 minutes to do evacuations. So during that first evacuation, the messaging is always going to be hard, but it gets better as the incident keeps going because we have more reflex time, we have more people getting in, we're developing that EOC structure for communication more. But certainly we need to work to make sure that our PIO is in the loop and able to message directly with council through the CM to have the, you know, the messages we're able to release right away.
Right, I realize that, and fires don't happen on, you know, bankers' hours, right? They never seem to happen.
They choose not to.
Yeah, so I think that is really important because I don't recall ever getting a message from our PIO. I got nothing. I was reaching out to people that I knew in fire for help. Hey, what do I tell this person that's on the other side of Guava? Do they need to get out? So I don't think that necessarily, I want to be in the loop. I want to tell these people the right information. And since we just had that fire, and I'm very, sensitive to what happened, and I am where all the livestock are. Well, most, Ron is also, but I think that I probably have the primarily, I have more in my area and some bigger ranches, right? I mean, it'd be really hard to see us even get the equine center out. There's a lot of horses in that small amount of space. So I know that you were going to say something. I'm going to be quiet and listen to you.
I just wanted to further add on. So for the Fig Fire specifically, I believe the decision to evacuate approximately came in around between 6 and 6:15. At that time, luckily, I was right up the street at the gym, but I was able to get here relatively quickly. May or may not have ran a red light. But with that, it was about 6:30 by the time I was in place. And I was the first one here. Then the decision was made to activate the EOC to a level 3. I believe Justin Clifton was the second person to arrive, and then our PIO eventually was in place. So in that time, we're getting to the EOC, we're pulling open the laptops, I'm getting logged into the incident, and we're trying to get a debrief of what actually is occurring. So the public isn't necessarily just sitting there in the dark. The people that are in danger are receiving the door knocks from our police department. That's already been occurring. But it is going to take us a little bit of time to get in place and push out that messaging, because the people that are on the incident are working that incident. They don't have the additional capability to push out that alert and warning messaging. So now once the PIO is in place, what we can establish going forward is through the EOC director, which would be Justin Clifton or Kristen Crane, or through our PIO, whatever is the best channel at that time, to go ahead and make sure we're pushing out regular updates to the city council. And that is something we can add into our EOC standard operating procedures going forward.
That would be absolutely amazing, just so that, when the community comes to us, that we have information for them. And it has to be clear and concise, and it's not anything that I heard through the grapevine. It needs to be specific information that's delivered to us from whether fire or police.
Yeah, and another point I would make is one of the most important things you can do as council members to help us is to advocate for the use of Genesis. We use Genesis. It used to, when we first started, we had to go through the county to access it and have them actually push it out. Rachel has done all of the training to become a trainer. She has trained all of our battalion chiefs, and we have built it into our operational overview that when you arrive on scene, you start evacuating. So we have the software with us on hand, where you can start doing the evacuations from the iPad that we run in our units for battalion chiefs. So yeah, and the dispatch supervisors can do it as well. So that's part of that planning piece. We're building it out so we have more people that can more rapidly do that evacuation. And that may be happening before we're even making phone calls to the city manager. A lot of these incidents, if I'm here, I'm there. If Chief Lopez is here, he is there. And we're getting that stuff up and running with maybe a quick call to Justin saying, get ready, the EOC, we're gonna have to stand it up. But that Genesis piece is going to become so important.
And the Fig Fire, the Genesis thing started blowing my phone up, which I absolutely loved, right? And because it gave you a lot of information. But I will say, and pardon my ignorance, but I had no idea what 1 to 3 was. You're a stage 3. Oh, okay, well, what the heck does that mean? Does that mean 3 is bad, get the heck out? Or 1 is good? And
evacuation.
So I was confused, and that's why I was making some phone calls too, like, what does this mean to me in it was prepare for evacuation. Well, if it's horses, we're gonna have to do a little bit more preparing if I'm just, throwing my, dog in the car, right?
Right.
One of the things with that incident, it was actually Riverside EMD that pushed out the initial notifications because we weren't in place. They were our backup at the time. So what we discussed post-incident was that those alerts were missing the call to action. So as you mentioned, stage 3, there wasn't a go now or prepare to go. So that is also something that we took a look at, and we're going to make templates that all we have to do is plug and play specific locations, but have those templates ready to go, that regardless if it's myself sending it out, the PIO, a dispatch supervisor, we have a template ready for, and that's easy for the public to understand. There is character limits with those, so we have to send a short character, which is limited to 90. Those are for people that may have older phones, the Nokia style, and then we have the 360 character limit. So there is limitations on making sure we get the information that's needed out, but we may have to get creative with how we state it.
And that's for the wireless emergency alert, which is tied to but separate from Genesis. Genesis is the app that does the pop-up on your phone. The wireless emergency alert will take a little bit longer than Genesis because you also have to go in and translate it to Spanish in several cases. And so that's a separate system that's tied to Genesis, but that pops up on any cell phone in the area, even if it doesn't have Genesis. So it's another layer of notification that we have that we can push manually to everybody's cell phone that's in an area that's touching that tower.
Well, thank you for that. I greatly appreciate it. I feel like you guys are really doing a great job. Thank you for taking the time to do Genesis, because now that we have control of it, we can control our situation a lot better. Thank you. And this little trifold is fantastic. And
Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel. This is fantastic. I love this. Where can I get my hands on these so I can make sure I can disseminate it through? Oh, thank you, Ron.
I have more in the office. We made about 200 of the nicer ones, and then I can always print additional copies from the computer as well. We are looking at distributing them at Cahoots and other animal feed locations. Right now, we haven't distributed it because I'm looking to put it out once I get a date locked in of when we can do the webinar and the town hall. I kind of want them hand in hand placed out at the same time. So,
well, that sounds amazing. Thank you so very much for this. I appreciate you so much. And that's my questions. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Justin Clifton, please.
Yeah,
He's in the queue.
I want to touch base on the public information again. I think it's worth emphasizing that we understand when there's an emergency, or even worse, a disaster, it feels a little bit like an emergency or a disaster, right? People are sometimes panicking, especially if they're getting an evacuation order and they don't understand. One of the things we try to practice is making sure we're very careful with original sources of information. We do run the risk of playing the telephone game with information. It's a wonderful thing that residents know to go to their elected officials. During a disaster, it's really best if they're taught to go to the original source, because especially in a quickly moving incident, if we're talking to the 5 of you, you're talking to the 1,000 people you know, the 1,000 people are talking to the people they know, they might be giving information that's already old, and they don't know to keep going back to check the original source. So we will do some trainings with council over the next number of months so that we can really get aligned on those practices. One of the concepts that we learn in ICS training is unity of command, which is basically one person is in charge of each and every function. The more that gets fractured, the more we risk information being dated, incorrect, in conflict. And so we want to talk about where's the sweet spot between empowering people to communicate as broadly as possible while also utilizing tactics that will help make sure people have the most current information always. And especially when we get into evacuations and things, we call one off, we start another one. It's one of those that's less predictable. Generally, the fires especially, the ops guys know where it's going. They know where the potential is, and we can kind of get out in front. But certain incidents could move much faster, and we want to be really careful about the expectation to provide information and relay it. So we'll talk about that when we have opportunities to do some additional training.
That would be amazing.
Thank you. I have a couple questions, and I know we need to move along, so we're going to move along. What makes it a mutual aid? Who makes that decision when you're going to call in extra?
The incident commander.
Okay.
So whoever is running the operational side of the incident would make that request.
Okay, and that would then would be disseminated to the person that would just,
Truly through operations,
Okay.
it would go through, depending on how we were running it, it would go through our dispatch center. Our dispatch center would then reach out to Paris, which is CAL FIRE's
Okay.
dispatch center, who reaches out to South Ops, which is
yeah, okay,
basically
so,
next door to Paris. But there's a whole prescriptive process of how that works, but the request originates through our incident commander.
do we have anything on our website that says where the zones are? So the reason I'm asking this, District 5, I have a very large senior community who panic and don't always understand what's coming across their phone. Do we have an evacuation plan for our districts where they can go and look and see what they're supposed to do? I'm just wondering.
We've looked at that. So there's a couple answers to that question. One is the safety element for the city does have an evacuation aspect to it that's a little more high level. It's like main arterials, how you evacuate. And we're actually updating that right now. It's part of the general plan amendment, the safety elements being looked at with that evacuation piece. The problem with having very specific plans on how to evacuate is people get trained to evacuate in a certain way, and then what do you do when the fire is coming from that way? Or
Correct.
there's a gas rupture or something else. So the beautiful thing about using Genesis is that we have a tool that we can tell you live how to evacuate. So knowing the zone of where you are in Genesis, and that is on our website, we have lots of information about
Okay.
evacuations in Genesis from the city and fire department website, and we message it on social media every chance we can. And every time we go to any community event, we bring our information about Genesis and evacuations. But we do not have, for lack of a better term, the hotel wall, your exits are here evacuation plan, just because the problem with that is it doesn't help when the disaster is
Well,
in a
fire
lot of
coming
our.
one way, a flood coming another way, a pipe
Right,
breaks, I understand that. But thank you, that answered my question. I've been asked many times, do you do 911 reverse calling? And that is done through a different program, correct? But that is available for our constituents?
I'll let Rachel handle that one. She has the specifics on how the county manages that.
So from my understanding and speaking in regards to the reverse 911, that's going to be through our landlines, and you can absolutely register for those, but they're seeing the numbers dwindling down as far as the amount of people that actually have the landlines, but that is still an active process that we would utilize, and that's also activated through the Genesis system.
That'd be great. And I would also advocate for council training. Not that we want to be the spokespersons, but we want to give the right information out. And if we're all calling one person and he can't definitely take all of our calls, somebody needs to let us know what's going on. Because every time there's been a fire, for some reasons, I've been in Sam's Club and people in their I'm not kidding, every time there has been a large incident in a fire, FIG was one, people came running in, the fire's coming towards Sam's, people started running out. It was total chaos until everybody's phone started going off. So I think, we do need some training, and that would really, I think, help us to understand the situation and how to handle it better.
And make sure that, just to elaborate on that too a little bit, just to
Got a second.
just make sure that we're calm for them to be calm,
Correct.
right? I mean, because if we're saying, hey, we are completely confident in our fire department and that our emergency systems are up and going, then they're going to be calm with all of that too, so. Okay, bye.
Okay, I'm going to now open it up for public comment. Madam City Clerk?
Seeing none.
Okay. Does anybody in the audience, would they like to ask a question or talk? I wanted to give you that opportunity, sitting here while you're sitting through all this. Okay, I'm going to bring it back to council. I know Mayor Pro Tem Lavelle had another comment.
Just real quick, as Councilwoman DeForest was talking through all that, I remember what happened on the Fig Fire. My gym's on Elm Street. I took the text message that Justin so quickly put out to all of us in that text thread, and I sent it right to my wife, and she basically was able to evacuate at least my small group of 50 to 60 people. So maybe in the meantime, until we get a better plan, that can be something you can use, Lisa.
And I will say that your information dissemination to us has been extremely helpful, so that we are in the know, we have an idea, and then we just wait for you to give us more information. And so I know, I'm going to speak for all of us, I know how much we all appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's been excellent, so thank you very much.
Yeah, I would concur.
Council, do we have any more questions? No, I want to thank you so very much for taking the time to educate us, to talk about us, and to know that we are really prepared. And that's great for our community and those that live here, work here, and visit us. Thank you so very much. And I'm going to recess until 5:30.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're now back. I'm going to call to order the 5:30 closed session. Madam City Clerk, will you please call roll?
Councilmember DeForest.
Here.
Councilmember Stone. Councilmember Holliday.
Here.
Councilmember Lavelle.
Here.
Mayor Warren.
Here.
Let the record reflect that all members are present with the exception of Councilmember Stone with an excused absence.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, would you please go over closed session agenda and any public comments?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Seeing no public comments, the City Council will conduct a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2 because there is a significant exposure to litigation in one case.
Thank you. With that, we're going to go to recess into closed session and we'll reconvene at 6 p.m. for our regular meeting. Good evening. I'm going to call the July 1st regular meeting of the Murrieta City Council to order. Madam City Clerk, will you please provide a report on closed session?
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council met in closed session on one item, CS1, to confer with legal counsel regarding exposure to litigation in one case pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2. The council was updated, no reportable action. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam City Clerk, will you please call roll?
Councilmember DeForest.
Here.
Councilmember Stone. Councilmember Holliday.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lavelle.
Here.
Mayor Warren.
Here.
Let the record reflect that all members are present with the exception of Councilmember Stone with an excused absence.
Thank you. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember DeForest. And would you please remain standing for the invocation led by Pastor Lyndon Parsons with the Murrieta Springs SDA Church.
Could I ask everybody to stand, please, and put your right hand over your heart? Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shall we pray? Our dear Father in heaven, we thank you for your kind watch care over our fair city. We thank you for the heritage of faith and dedication to fairness and justice that established us as a nation, as a state, and as a city, and has given us a government of the people that is guided by these, our representatives. We thank you, Lord, for our mayor, for our council members who have dedicated themselves to governing on our behalf, holding as sacred the principles of justice and freedom for all. Please bless them and bless their families for their good service, as well as our city staff and our police officers and our firefighters who daily care for our well-being. Please bless, protect, and hold them as dear. We also ask that you would provide a generous blessing of rainfall for this coming year, Lord, that our city might be blessed because of it. We pray that you'd grant our civic leaders wisdom and strength and courage as needed to govern us as you would have them. We ask all these things in the name of Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen. Amen.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we have the honor of honoring some really remarkable people in our community that give their time and on a very long, hot day. They are the judges for our Father's Day car show. And we wanted to let them know how much we appreciate them. So we have made up some certificates of recognition for each one of them. They all say the same thing, except your name has been included in each one that belongs to you. But if you'll give me just a moment, I'd like to read this first, and then we'll call you all up. We'll give you your certificates, and we'd like to take a group picture if that's okay. So this is what it says. City of Murrieta Certificate of Recognition awarded to, and we're going to give this one to Rick Brown. The City Council and the City of Murrieta do hereby recognize your valuable contribution and dedicated service for volunteering as a judge for the City of Murrieta's annual Father's Day Car Show. Your thoughtful participation and community spirit played a meaningful role in bringing people together and showcasing the passion of local car enthusiasts. Your support helps celebrate our shared love for cars and community. We sincerely thank you for generously donating your time and expertise to help make this event successful. This is presented this day, July 1st of 2025, and it is signed by all of your council members. And I just want to give you a round of applause for being so awesome and being there for us. If all of you would come up front, and then I'm going to give the certificates to our city clerk, and she will hand them to you, but we'd like to get a group picture first. With, oops, careful. Tripping's not an option. Here we go. Thank you so much. Try to stand around that. Right here? Yeah, I love that. We'll have you guys go see. Here, we're going to get together over here. Yeah, here we go. Doesn't matter, wherever you want. All right. How's that? That's good. Perfect. And then just look. Make us look good. I got you. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Got it. Thank you very much. Oh, is that what it was?
I'm looking for the shirt.
Yeah, I know. Okay, we're going to move on to approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda, please? I have a motion by Councilmember Holliday and a second by Councilmember DeForest. Please vote.
Motion carries unanimously 4-1 with Councilmember Stone absent.
Thank you very much. At this time, Mr. City Manager, we have some exciting news. Why don't you share with us?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor and Council. I have a few updates for you this evening. Here in a moment, we will have Bob Mailing come up to talk, our Director of Public Works, to talk about the Keller Road interchange update, followed by Christina Davies, our Public Information Officer, who's going to give us a community update. But before that, I would like to talk to you a little bit about the recent trip that we participated in with some of our colleagues throughout the region as part of the Southwest Riverside County Elected Leaders Collaborative Legislative Advocacy Day. So that's a mouthful, but for those that don't know, there is a regional collaborative really led by Councilmember Stone and other electeds throughout the region to get us together and talk about issues that we have in common. And that has led us down the path of really identifying some transportation issues as chief among those that the group is interested in. You can see there some of the other collaborative members, City of Canyon Lake, Lake Elsinore, Menifee, Temecula, Wildemar, the county Regional Transit Authority, the Riverside County Transportation Commission, and WRCOG. So noting the transportation issues we have in the region and how they've worsened since the state has implemented aggressive housing policy, it was the goal of the collaborative to go up to Sacramento, a large group of people broken into 3 groups, to advocate basically for change and alignment between some of those housing policies and those transportation policies. So it was really impressive to see a group that large come together. I think having a successful day of meetings, those 3 groups were led through a series of 5 or 6 or 7 meetings with, this is with staff members from the Transportation Committee, with a variety of assembly persons or state senators that participate in transportation decisions, all to really advocate for policies that will give us some relief in the area of transportation and hopefully restore a little bit of local control. So I think it was a very successful day. We had a warm reception by most of those that we visited with. Just worth noting, first and foremost, the leadership of Councilmember Stone and Mayor Warren for being our delegates to lead those conversations, along with other electeds from the group of collaborative participants. Also want to give really special recognition at the staff level, first to Kristen Crane, our assistant city manager, who has helped guide that group and provide kind of administrative support from beginning to end. And then Isaac Bravo, our analyst in the city manager's office, who really did the lion's share of work and heavy lifting to make sure that all the activities were well organized, that everybody knew where to go, working with our lobbyist group to make sure it was a very productive, very well organized day. So a lot of people came together to make this happen. I think we have a couple more slides, in particular, a little video that we're going to play. We had a really cool piece of collaborative collateral for this trip, which is a little video booklet that aired this video.
Southwest Riverside County stands as one of California's fastest growing regions and a premier destination for families, students, and businesses. With some of the lowest crime rates and comparatively affordable housing in the state, it continues to attract those seeking a vibrant and secure community. While we take great pride in our achievements in meeting state housing goals, our environmental stewardship, and fostering strong neighborhoods, the rapid growth has outpaced our infrastructure, creating an urgent need for investment and expansion. Rapid growth since the early 2000s has led to worsening gridlock on the I-15 and I-215 freeways, disrupting commerce, national defense logistics, and regional connectivity. Meanwhile, well-intended state policies, such as vehicle miles traveled, have inadvertently increased project costs and slowed critical improvements. Additionally, innovative clean transit regulations place undue strain on our developing public transportation systems, which lack the infrastructure and historic investments of larger metropolitan areas. As California evolves to meet the challenges of affordability, mobility, and climate resilience, Southwest Riverside County stands at the forefront, embodying the promise of a more connected, accessible, and prosperous future for all. By aligning state policies with clean transportation initiatives, infrastructure improvements, and environmental resilience goals, together we can help create a more vibrant California, where affordability goes hand in hand with reduced emissions, enhanced mobility, and long-term climate responsibility.
I think it really had some impact when we gave people what they thought were little paper books and they opened the cover and actually this video played on a little screen. So all in an effort to really get some attention. The message you hear is somewhat cooperative. It was very strategic that we went up with the intent to try to make an impression, highlight some of these issues, but emphasize that we're here to help our legislature work more cooperatively and on behalf of local agencies. I think we were invited to do more of this kind of activity. And again, I think it was just a very productive example of a group of dedicated public servants, both elected and professional staff, all going up in unity to lobby on behalf of our residents. And Mayor Warren, if you'd like to say anything else.
We didn't go up there pounding fist. We went up there to educate. We wanted them to know that one size does not fit all. Southwest Riverside County is very unique and very special. People move here before they move out of state. They move here for the quality of life. They move here for a better life. And when they put us on the same box or threshold that they do LA and Orange County, we're not able to compete for dollars. So we were up there educating them, letting them know that we are worth them taking a second look at us and understanding this region. We invited them to come down and see our region. And you know what? I think they're going to take us up on it. And we heard all day long, come back, keep this up. This is a first. We've never had this happen before. So we're going to have a debriefing meeting and we're going to plan for another meeting because I think the more we get in front of them, the more that they understand the more they know the need. We are not a rapid transit region. We are a car region, but that doesn't mean we can't improve our rapid transit, and doesn't mean that we can't work together. But I don't think you can work with people unless you understand what you're talking about. So that was our goal, and I do believe we've not only met it, but we exceeded it. And I want to publicly thank Lori Stone. She's not home feeling well right now. I wanted to thank her publicly for all the hard work she put in. Isaac and Kristen, top-notch, unbelievable. Nobody got lost, and everybody came home. So it was a good day all the way around. We were there for just about 24 hours. So thank you. And Justin, thank you for all you did. You stepped up the plate, and I think as a big group going and doing big things, we accomplished our goal. So thank you so much.
Sorry, that's it for this one, and we can move forward now with Bob and Christina to give it another couple of updates.
Oh, good evening, Mayor Warren, council members. It's great to be here tonight, and what a great thing to follow. It was a great summary of the regional challenges we have down here in Southwest Riverside County, and just want to give an update real quickly on the Keller Road 215 interchange project. We're currently within a couple weeks into the 45-day comment period on our environmental document. We had to complete an EIR, which is out on the streets for public review. We have a 45-day period, and a week from tonight, on July 8th, we'll be back in this room, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. to have a public meeting. So Caltrans and ourselves are having a public meeting to allow anyone who wants to come out. Residents, constituents, businesses, council members are welcome. A week from tonight, 6 to 8 p.m., public comment meeting. We'll take all the comments in about some of the impacts that you have on the different properties or impacts of this project, and we're just going to take those and actually they're folded into the comments that are reviewed for the 45-day review period of the EIR. So just want to remind everybody out there, the document is available at the city, either a hard copy out front or on our website. Obviously, it's about a 1,000-page document with all the appendices that go with it, so you really don't want to look at it in person. You can look at it online on our website. So just want to remind everybody out there, come on out a week from tonight, and we're looking forward to a lot of people. So that is it, unless there's any questions. Thank you.
All right, well, good evening. I get to talk about what is happening in Murrieta. So I do have some information. Last time I was up here, I mentioned that Animal Friends of the Valley, they were doing $10 microchipping for pets. They were doing that through June 30th, but they have now extended that through July 3rd. So if your pet is not microchipped, you can still go to Animal Friends of the Valley and get your pet microchipped. They do accept walk-ins. As far as upcoming events go, we just had our birthday bash. So if you were there, thank you so much for attending. It was great, kind of hot, but I thought it was a great event. Next, we have our concerts in the park, and those will be happening on Saturdays this month at our Town Square Park and Amphitheater from 7 to 9 p.m. And for a full list of events that are upcoming through the rest of the next few months, you can head to murrietaca.gov/events. We have Murrieta Night at Diamond Stadium. That's going to be happening on July 31st. So if you like baseball, if you love Murrieta, and if you love Mayor Warren, head on down to or head up, I guess, to Lake Elsinore. She will be there throwing out the first pitch. Yeah? Yes. And next, I want to talk about Notify Me. So this is our system that we use to send out alerts through emergency alerts, but also project updates. And so I want to remind people to sign up for Notify Me, and you can do that through murrietaca.gov/notify me. And you can choose exactly which categories you are interested in. So projects, we do have a specific category for Murrieta Hot Springs Road Widening Project, but also a category just for public works. So if you want updated information, be sure to sign up for that through up there on the link with murrietaca.gov/notify me. And as always, for more information, you can head to murrietaca.gov/connect.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That concludes my administrative updates.
Thank you very much. We're now going to move into governing body reports, which is an opportunity for the City Council to provide brief report on conferences, seminars, and committees, and/or board meeting attendance. Governing body announcements is the opportunity for the City Council to provide miscellaneous reports and announcements. Reports shall not exceed 5 minutes, and the City Clerk will use her computerized timer. We are going to start with Councilmember DeForest.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. All right, there are a lot of things going on, but first and foremost, to kick off the State of the Cities, I attended this Temecula State of the City, which was a beautiful event held at Pechanga. And then I was cruising on downtown market nights and ran into Annette Jennings, and she said, hey, can we get some information out and disseminate some information out about Murrieta, the History Museum. We're really lucky to have that. And it's open from 1 to 4 on Thursday, and it's free to the public. Everyone is welcome. I just want to give her a shout out and get that out there too, so people know where they could go see information about the history of Murrieta. And we're all doing this because we love this beautiful city of Murrieta, and we love being able to raise a family here. And I just like to shout out to my husband, happy 26 years of marriage and 30 years together. We celebrated an anniversary not too long ago. Just to, I don't want to go over my time, but something very, very exciting has happened with a coalition that I am the chairman of, and it's the Southwest Riverside Higher Education Coalition. I'd like to give a little update of that. So congressionally directed spending has been requested for a tune of $5 million, and it has been supported by both Senators Alex Padilla and Adam Schiff. It's been approved and will continue to move forward for the expansion of our regional higher education. The coalition assisted in signing and soliciting letters of support for these requests. They also cited that the diversity of our coalition and nonpartisan position has certainly allowed us to work together as a group and bridge the gap, and to reach across the aisle for the betterment of Southwest Riverside County. So I'm really proud where we have come and where we're going. And Kristen, I'd like to thank you as well for always helping and moving this coalition forward. And I'm really proud to say with the $5 million or 5.5 that Supervisor Washington 3rd District gave, and the $11 million that is coming congressionally, the $5 million coming congressionally, we're looking at approximately $11 million towards the expansion of higher education in Southwest Riverside County. So that is a huge number, and we're really excited. We look forward to finishing the gap. We need $9 million more, and we look forward to finding that. It's been coming slowly, but I have a feeling that we will make that gap very small and get our goals moving forward. So let's keep the momentum going, and I thank everybody for that. Also, I attended the birthday bash. What a lot of fun. Although we did get rained on by some ash, it was also sprinkling down on us as we were watching the fireworks. Best fireworks show ever. It was amazing, and we had no wind. I think that's why we got ash, which I'd never gotten before. So I spoke to a lot of community members about the Hayes Bridge. They were very interested in that's moving forward, and I know we're going out to bid with that. So also prayers for our first responders in Idaho. I see the black bands on our first responders of fire, and prayers going out for those family members. So if you need to reach me at the very end, my email, ldeforest@murrieta.ca.gov, or for faster response, you can text me or give me a call, and that is my cell. So thank you so very much, and appreciate you all for listening to me rambling on and on.
Thank you, Councilmember DeForest. Councilmember Holliday.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The list of my stuff will be online and on the screen, but I wanted to highlight a couple things. Went to the Explore Murrieta rebranding event. Put on by Patrick Ellis, one of the many hats that he wears. And one of the main takeaways that I wanted to share with the public is that event does not cost the city or the chamber or Explore Murrieta a dime. Everything they do, all the analysis, all the work is done is paid for by tourists. So people are coming into our town spending their dollars here, and a little piece of that money allows us to advertise Murrieta better. And Explore Murrieta does a great job, so I want to thank you for that, Patrick. And my phone just timed out. Oh, here we go. And then one of the other things I like to highlight is I attended the Murrieta Fire and Rescue Academy recruit graduate ceremony this last week. I'm always so proud of both our police and fire departments. We only hire paramedic trained firefighters. Every single firefighter that is in our ranks is paramedic trained. So it's not like, oh, we got to wait for a paramedic to show up. They're all of them are that. And we don't accept any new recruits even. And these recruits, if I remember correctly, are local boys that came up through the Explorer. I know you changed names or something, but came up through the ranks. And so there was a packed house with all the families and friends there. It's always an enjoyable event. I never want to miss one. And then with my colleagues, except for Councilmember Stone, who was ill and is still ill, we went to the Murrieta Birthday Bash, and I think we finally have recovered from COVID in attendance to the Birthday Bash. It was nice to see that there was hardly any room left for someone to sit down and enjoy the show by the time the pop-ups came down. So good job to the staff, the CSD staff. I know Leah has some stuff to do. Laura takes a 2-week vacation just to recover from the Father's Day car show and the Birthday Bash. But that whole team, Brian Ambrose, everybody does an amazing job. So appreciate that. That's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Holliday. Mayor Pro Tem LaBelle.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple things. I usually have a assortment of pictures from Councilwoman Stone, but unfortunately I don't have any pictures this time. Lisa had a few. Yeah. The first thing is the medical leaders lunch. I attended it, and fortunately at Loma Linda, where it was held this time, I was able to host it for the group. This has been something I've been part of since before I was on council, and it's so nice to see how much energy Scott puts into this and how much attention it's getting for the community as we continue to grow. The medical providers, the facilities, the amenities that are around medical are growing as well. So really nice to be part of that. Obviously, being on my home turf, had a really good time and enjoyed seeing everyone there. And then I was able to be the alternate for Miss Mayor Warren here for the RTA. Is it quarterly?
Monthly.
RCTC?
No,
RTA.
RTA.
Yeah, that's what I said, right?
Yeah.
Went there. I had never been to the Riverside, not courthouse, what is it called?
Super County Building.
County Building, there you go. I'll get there one day. Nice to see all the other colleagues from the cities around, and nothing really to report other than they did a lot of team building exercises, a lot of strategic planning for how RTA is going to be providing resources and accommodating the needs of the residents in the future moving forward. And also was with my colleagues here, except Ms. Stone, for the Birthday Bash. And to kind of echo the comments, it was more crowded than I've ever have seen or could remember. So another indication of a vastly growing city with lots of things happening. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem LaBelle. As you know, I went up to Sacramento. 24-hour whirlwind trip was fabulous. That is that's what the picture here is the 4 of us that went up there. And again, I want to thank Lori, Isaac, and Justin for a job well done. You did an excellent job. We couldn't have done this. It would never been this successful without you. In addition to that, moving on to my announcements, Explore Murrieta. I love the rebranding. Is awesome, Patrick, and it was a great event to kick it off. So thank you for hosting that. And it was a lot of fun. Everybody enjoyed it. I know they did. I also went to attend the Building Brighter Futures in the 3rd District. Was talking about probation and how they're trying to rehabilitate offenders and help them get on the right track. And that was very informative. There's a lot of resources and avenues for them to take. After going to the Explore Murrieta, I got to go to Murrieta Market Night, which was lots of fun that night, and it cooled off nicely, and so we appreciate that. Thank you, Connie. I know you had something to do with that. Ladies, the Knowles Ladies Society has a monthly luncheon that I go to every month, and it's just a place where I get to give them updates on what's going on and help them maneuver some of the nuances in the city and give them updates about the library and programs and things like that. So I do that every month. And I think one of my greatest thrills was going to the academy graduation. Homegrown boys turned them in, and their families were so proud. And when I saw Dean Hale's son, who was a firefighter here in Murrieta, and his son graduating, it just brought tears to my eyes, and it was very special. It was a very special moment for everybody. I remember when he was just a little guy, so that was interesting. I didn't realize he has gone through all that. Holiday Inn Express celebrated their 5th year in business, and that's quite a milestone in businesses these days. And a great group of people came out. Thank you, Councilmember Holliday, for joining me. It was extremely hot that day. Birthday bash, shout out to CSD. What a great night, what a great day. Everybody had a great time, and now I know why Laura always needs a vacation after the car show, and it was crazy. Our team was out there, our city clerks were out there, telling everybody about our districts and informing our constituents what's available in our community. And I think we had a really good time, and yes, there was a lot of ash that was dropping on us that night. Never had seen that before. But it was a great day. Murrieta's doing a great job, and just wanted to thank everybody. This will all be listed online. If you need me, you can always call me or email me. And that concludes my report. Next page. Okay, now we're going to move on to the approval of the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are considered routine and may be enacted by one motion and vote. There will be no discussion of these items unless specific items are removed from the consent calendar for separate motions. Are there any requests from City Council to pull any consent calendar items for discussion or abstain from voting?
Madam Mayor, seeing none, however, may we take public comments on non-agenda items, please?
Sure.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
We do have public comments from Cass and Klein.
How did I miss that? Sorry about that.
That's okay.
My apologies.
Happy birthday, Murrieta. Today's the day. 34 years ago, I stood at the fish exchange with my mom and my stepdad, my maternal grandfather. Ron, you may have been there. I didn't know you then, but you may have been there. There was a bunch of people. Fish exchange is where the sidelines now is. So just want to acknowledge the city. We've come a long way, and I'm sure that that my stepdad would be very proud of the city. Want to welcome back Andy Crow. Good to see you, Andy. So Mayor Warren, a couple of meetings ago, you had brought up a concern with some CFDs that were underfunded. About $1 million we're spending, deficit spending on some of the CFDs or LLMDs. And generally I agree with what I perceived your position to be, that the city general fund should not be subsidizing those. People should pay their way. However, in speaking with that, with a friend of mine, the term that the person used is that we don't want a broken window complex going on. So if we don't spend the money evenly or maintain community facilities districts or LLMDs, even though we're deficit spending, we don't subsidize them. I guess what I'm trying to say is the entire community, even though we don't live necessarily in that neighborhood, the entire community benefits from that. That's part of our quality of life. And if I understood your comments about possibly getting people to vote in those neighborhoods on a CFD to fund their own, I'd be very cautious doing that, because if they don't vote to increase their CFD, their contributions, that might create a bigger problem for the community. So just wanted to offer that I think that we do all benefit from consistent maintenance of CFDs and LLMDs. So thank you.
Linda Thomas.
Came from San Diego 5 years ago, moved to Murrieta. Beautiful. I love it here. Moved into a condo, 145 units, across from the high school. Wonderful. There's going to be another building built next to us pretty soon with 125 apartments. A lot of people. My concern when I moved here was I noticed that none of the streets have street parking. And most of these developments only give you 2 or 3 spots to park, and then I'm sitting there, where are you supposed to go if you can't park on the street? Is that something normal with you guys, or is this going to change, or what are we going to do with all these condos that are being built on Washington, and where are these people going to park? That's all I wanted to ask. Do I sit down?
Thank you. Thank you.
That concludes public comments, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Again, I apologize for skipping that. We'll move on to consent calendar again. Items on the consent calendars are considered routine and may be enacted by one motion and vote. There will be no discussion of these items unless specific items are removed from the consent calendar for a separate motion. Are there any requests from the City Council to pull any consent calendar items for discussion or abstain from voting?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. I am recusing myself from item number 3, Mapleton Bluestone Highland, only as I own property, rent property within 1,000 feet of that project.
And Madam Mayor, I'm recusing myself from item number 3, Meadowland Amberwalk 1 and 2, only as I own property within 1,000 foot of the project. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
And I am recusing myself from item number 3, Greer Ranch, as I own property within 1,000 feet of the project.
Okay, thank you very much. Now that all of you recuse yourself properly, can I please have a motion and a second? I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lavelle and a second by Councilmember DeForest. Please vote.
Motion carries unanimously 4-0 with the noted recusals.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to public hearing. Item number 8, consider the levy of 2024 delinquent refuse service charges on the fiscal year 25-26 property tax roll. Are there any members of the City Council that wish to abstain or recuse themselves from this item? Seeing none, staff, may we please have a report? Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Pedro. I'm a management analyst in the City Manager's office. I'm here tonight to present the proposed placement of the 2024 delinquent refuse service charges onto the 2025-26 property tax roll. So per our franchise agreement, Waste Management must provide service to all Murrieta residents even if they stop paying their bill. This is to help preserve the sustainability and the health of the community. But as a result, this property tax roll process is how we recover the unpaid charges. On June 2nd, Waste Management mailed a notice of delinquent charges to the affected property owners. The letter notified them of their placements on the 2024 delinquent list and provided them the opportunity to pay off their principal balance by July 25th. As people have started getting these letters, more residents have begun paying off that balance. As of yesterday, June 30th, the number of affected parcels had went down from 1,570 to about 1,261. In addition, the total outstanding principal balance has dropped from about 537,000 to about 462,000. Those that do not pay by the July 25th deadline will be added to the final delinquent report, where after that, a penalty and interest will be added to their charge. Once those accounts are paid through the tax roll process, the city will recover its administrative costs as well as its 12% franchise fee. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer questions. And in addition, there are representatives from Waste Management that are here as well that can answer questions should the council have them. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your report. I'll bring it back to the council. Do we have any questions? Yes, we do. Councilmember Holliday.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to hear from Waste Management if we could. Robert's going to take that.
Back up.
You're his his alternate, as we say.
Well, good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council and City Administration. My name is Robert. I'm the Public Sector Manager for Waste Management. And so I am here to answer any questions that Council has.
So as Pedro just said, that we have, there were about 1,600 delinquent accounts, and now we're down to around 1,200 and something. What is a normal number of delinquencies? Because this is only for 24, correct?
Yes, sir. Correct.
So how many do we normally have in a given year?
Yeah. So looking back, I mean, we typically land around this range, the 11 to 1,200 range is what we typically
is what ends up going on the tax rolls.
Yeah, exactly. And we start around the 1,300 to 1,500 range. So we're definitely within that parameter.
And how many customers are there in Murrieta?
So that we have 31,000, I think was the last estimate on the last report we ran for the total number of customers in Murrieta. So both residential and commercial.
So about 1/3%.
Correct.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's all the questions I had. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem LaBelle?
Just kind of a high level question. So on these delinquent accounts, this is for the service year of 24, how many of these are people that have moved away, or how does this work when it comes to the actual property versus the person who has the account with Waste Management?
Yeah. So the delinquent tax rolls in any account that is 90 days or more past due. In that, as far as like the percentage with the number of accounts, like whether it's been they've moved away or that, I can follow up with that on that exact number.
It's fair to say there are some in there, though, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, do you have any idea? I know this may be anecdotal at this point, but of people just refusing to pay. Is there something common that ends them up on this list? I guess I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, I mean, these constituents. I mean, we're actively notifying these constituents, like they know that they have a past due balance with us. I wouldn't say there was like a theme or anything that why they're not paying this.
Yeah. Okay. And my last question: the past due balance is for regular service and anything extra. So they ordered a dumpster or a bigger bin or all those services would be in those fees, or the fees would be in those types of services?
So it's actually just going to be the base service. Or if they ordered any type of like roll off or things like that, we typically collect payment before those type of services. So this is just basic level. I mean, if they have an additional trash can, of course. Yeah. This is just basic level services.
Okay, that's all I have. I'm just kind of curious to how this typically gets generated. So of course, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember DeForest.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question about when you notice an address, what if it's a rental? Do you also notice the registered owner of the property?
Yes, ma'am. Well? Yes. So our process basically is the moment that the account does get 90 days past due, the property owner the address that we have on file through the county, as well as the individual address, if it's a renter, both are mailed notices throughout the process. And then as Pedro alluded to, on June 2nd, both notices were mailed to not only the property owner, but as well as the address if it's not the same.
Thank you so much for that clarification. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, no more further questions from the dais? Okay. Right now, we're going to place for the public hearing on the delinquent refuse charges tax roll. I now open the public hearing. Has the city clerk received any written protest on this matter?
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the council on this matter or hand in any protest or correspondence?
Seeing none.
Thank you. We'll bring it back to council for deliberation. Any further questions? Anything you'd like to ask? At this time, I'm going to close the public hearing. One more chance for discussion. I have a motion by Councilmember DeForest and a second by Councilmember Holliday. Please cast your vote.
Motion carries unanimously, 4-0.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to item number 9, fiscal year 25-26 fire suppression assessment. Are there any members of the City Council that wish to abstain or recuse themselves from this item? Seeing none. Staff, may we please have your report? Welcome.
Chairs there for a minute.
They all looked at each other.
Yeah, good evening, Ken. Honorable Mayor and Council Member Javier Carcamo, Director of Finance. So this item is for the 2025-26 fire assessment. This is associated with the annual assessment for every unit within our city boundaries. The assessment is assessed primarily for fire operations, and they're being accounted for both the budget and expenditures within the fire district fund. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great, I'll bring it back to council. Do council have any questions? No one's in the queue. At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing for the 2024-25 fire suppression assessment. City Clerk, do we received any written protests filed against the fiscal year 24-25 fire suppression assessment?
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the City Council on this matter or hand in any protests of correspondence?
Seeing none.
Thank you. Does any member of the City Council have any comments or further questions? I now close the public hearing. Call for a motion, which I have. I have a motion by Councilmember Holliday and a second by Mayor Pro Tem John Lavelle. Please vote.
Motion carries unanimously 4-0.
Thank you very much. We're now going to move on to item number 10, Murrieta Community Services District Levy of Annual Assessments. Are there any members of the City Council that wish to abstain or recuse themselves from this item? I am recusing myself from item number 10, Zone N, as I own property within 1,000 feet of the zone. Any others?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I am recusing myself from item number 10, Zone G and M only, as I own property within 1,000 feet.
I am recusing myself from item number 10, Zone F and L, as I own property within 1,000 feet.
Any others? Okay.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
So I just want to be clear for the record that due to multiple recusals, that based on a drawing of straws by the city clerk, Zone F will be voted on by Holliday, Warren, and DeForest. Zone G will be voted by DeForest, Lavelle, and Warren.
Okay. You will remind us when we're doing that. Thank you. All right. Now that we got through all that, staff, welcome. May we have your report?
Yes, you may. Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. My name is Leah Kolick. I'm the Parks and Community Services Manager for the city. With me this evening is Michelle Lassie with Wildan Financial. They are the levy consultant for the city. This public hearing relates to the annual levy assessments for the Community Services District. The Community Services District assessments help to cover the costs associated with flood and drainage services, street sweeping, and in most benefit areas, local park and landscaping, as well as some street lighting. They benefit general areas and lettered zones. These assessments are reviewed annually in accordance with the provisions detailed in Proposition 218 that was passed by the California voters in 1996. For the CSD, these assessments have not been increased since their establishment in 1997, as there is no cost inflator tied to them. Depending on the zone, the annual assessments range from $45.44 to $751.16. The intent meeting for the assessments took place on May 6th, and the 45-day public hearing notices were posted by the city clerk, mailed notices were delivered to all property owners within the city. Upon closing the public hearing, it is staff's recommendation for council acting as the CSD board to approve the levy report and order the levy and collection of the rates and charges for next fiscal year. That concludes the overview of this item. Staff and representatives from Wildan Financial are available should you have questions.
Thank you very much. I'll bring it back to council. Do any council members have any questions? Seeing none, at this time in place for the public hearing of the levy of annual assessments, Community Services District, I now open the public hearing. Has the city clerk received any written protests filed against the levy of annual assessments, Community Service Districts?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have received one protest, and that is available for the public record. It's been distributed to the City Council.
Thank you. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the City Council on this matter or hand in any protests or correspondence?
Seeing none?
Thank you very much. Does any member of the City Council have any comments or further questions? I now close the public hearing. I call for a motion in a second. Okay, I can second. Oh, we have the right people? All right, please vote. Don't know. Verma, is that you vote? Okay. Thank you.
Motion carries unanimously 4-0 with noting the recusals with Mayor Pro Tem LaBelle on Zone F and Councilmember Holliday on Zone G. Yes, I'm stating the ones with the straw vote.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. We're now going to move on to item number 11, Consolidated Landscaping and Lighting District Levy of Annual Assessments. Are there any members of the City Council that wish to abstain or recuse themselves from this item? I am recusing myself from item number 11, LLD 11, only as I own property within 1,000 feet. Mr. Holliday.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am recusing myself from item number 11, LLD 16, only as I own property within 1,000 feet.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
I am recusing myself from item number 11, LLD 15, as I also own property within 1,000 feet.
Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll move forward then. Staff, may we please have your report?
Yes, you may. Good evening once again, Mayor and City Council. My name is Leah Kolick. I'm the Parks and Community Services Manager for the City of Murrieta. And with me this evening is Michelle Lassie with Wildan Financial, the city's levy consultant. The public hearing for this item relates to the annual levy assessments for the Consolidated Landscape and Lighting District. For the Landscape and Lighting District, these assessments help cover costs associated with park, landscape maintenance and street lighting in more localized areas that benefit numbered districts that were formed after the passage of Proposition 218 in 1996. These assessments are reviewed annually, and in many instances, there are no increases. However, of the 31 active districts, 18 did have increases, ranging from $2.10 to $81.62. The intent meeting for the Consolidated Landscape Lighting District assessments took place on May 6th, and the public hearing notices were posted accordingly. Upon closing the public hearing, it is staff's recommendation for the City Council to confirm and provide for the annual levy of the assessments in the Consolidated Landscape and Lighting District. That concludes the overview of this item, and staff and representatives from Wildan Financial are available should you have questions.
Thank you. Council, do we have any questions? Councilmember Holliday.
Thank you. So the increases and decreases that I saw on the chart that's also available to the public, what causes those?
Utility increases, contractor base level increases in pricing for services, things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? One more.
What causes the decreases?
Sometimes a particular landscape lighting district we think may be assessed at a certain level, but we may have an El Nino and have much greater rain than anticipated. So that may necessitate a lesser levy the following year. We want to always maintain a balance between enough reserves to pay for any of the invoicing and so on for that particular budget. But at the same time, we don't want to have an excessive fund balance. So it's always a kind of a back and forth game.
So for those that are getting a reduction, would it be safe to say the reserves are plentiful?
Yes.
And I did read in the staff report that you and or the finance department have been proactive in refinancing some of these facilities. Is that correct? Or am I on a wrong item?
For the landscape lighting districts, yes. If it appears that we have an excessive fund balance, we will either look to doing a particular project in that landscape lighting district, such as maybe artificial turf, removal and replacement, restroom addition, things like that, or we will lessen the annual maintenance for those districts.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time is a place for the public hearing on the levy of annual assessments, Consolidated Landscaping and Lighting District. I now open the public hearing. Has the city clerk received any written protest filed against the levy of annual assessments, Consolidated Landscaping and Lighting District?
Seeing none.
Thank you. Is there any person present who wishes to address the city council on this matter or hand in any protest or correspondence? If so, please come to the podium.
Seeing none, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Does any member of the city council have any comments or questions at this time? Seeing none, I am now going to close the public hearing and call for a motion in a second. I have a motion by Councilmember DeForest and a second by Councilmember Holliday. Please vote.
Motion carries unanimously 4-0 with recusals as noted.
Thank you very much. Thank you, staff, very much. We're going to move on to item number 12, consideration to introduce an ordinance approving a development agreement for digital billboards at locations approved by relocation agreement. As we move on to the next public hearing, are there any council members who would like to recuse themselves from this item? Seeing none? Hi, staff. Welcome. May we have your report?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. David Chantarangsu, Development Services Director, and Jarrett Ramaya, Deputy Director, here to present the item for you tonight. Get that clicker. Thank you. So since the city's incorporation, various city councils have been working to reduce the number of static billboards located within the city. And to that end, in 2022, the city amended its sign code to allow relocated billboards to be built within the city, whereas prior to that, the sign code prohibited the construction of any billboards. So to facilitate that process, the city council entered into a relocation agreement in 2022, which gave Lamar the rights to relocate static billboards, remove or reduce the number of static billboards within the city, and replace them with digital billboards. So the basic deal points of the relocation agreement allowed Lamar to install 4 new digital billboards. It also required Lamar to contribute the payment of $1 million upon the construction of a billboard at Keller, near the Keller interchange, whenever that occurs. Lamar committed to providing the city with a digital monument sign, which has been built and operational earlier this year. The relocation agreement also provided for a cost-sharing agreement between the city and Lamar, where the city could obtain up to $100,000 in revenue, or 25% of the revenue, whichever is greater. Would also allow the city to obtain unsold advertising space to the city for announcements, such as public service announcements. And then Lamar also agreed to restrict the type of advertising and content that it would advertise on its billboards. So that's the basic framework for how we arrived here today. And to discuss the specific details of the development agreement, I will turn it over to Mr. Amaya.
Thank you, David. We're going to talk about the 3 static billboards with the paper that will be converted to the electronic. This is a vicinity map. You're looking at an aerial of 15 Freeway. There's 3 sites on this map. One site that's at the lower part of the map is on Golden Gate. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then we have 2 signs located along Jackson that are very close to the freeway. So it's these 3 sites in the most southern part of our city that I'll discuss today. Site number 1 on Golden Gate, we have an existing static billboard. The request is to reconstruct that into an electronic billboard. It's 57 feet in height as measured at the road grade. Here's another site that's existing at a lower height. Lamar would reconstruct this site and this would be about 85 feet. I'll get into that in just a future slide as to why we're seeing 85 feet, but this is just another representation of that. We have a third sign. It's gonna remain around the same height that it is today. It'll be 47 feet. And again, these are 3 signs that would replace existing signs. Now, we're all aware of the flyover that Caltrans has built. And so over the years, as we've seen a lot of new things going vertical, some of the signs have been obscured by that. If you look at the lower images, you kind of see the front and side view of the flyover. It's pretty dramatic in height. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a photo simulation. You'll see the yellow, that's the current sign. And so you could not view that in today. And so at a height of 85 feet, viewers going southbound and northbound will be able to see that site. But I just want to let you know that the reason it's 85 feet is because another freeway popped up in front of it, and it's harming that sign company from advertising. So these are lighted signs. They're on 24/7. So they are subject to state environmental review. We've taken a careful assessment on that. Lamar has provided us with a biological resource report. They've also looked at the lighting levels. We're here tonight to say that even though it's on 24 hours a day, the type of technology they're using and the design would not have any impacts upon biology. Although this area is in a cell and a resource conservation authority area, the way that it's designed would not project downward or outward. And I have some additional information that I can share with you. This is one of the sites. What we will have is prior to trenching activities, they will do a burrowing owl reconnaissance to see if there's any there. You basically can trap them and relocate them if you find them. Also under visual, we have a 20-second video if you'd like to see it. It just shows the technology that from the side of these signs, you cannot see it, and from below, you cannot see it. So they've adapted the most current technology. And these types of signs are now being built next to wetlands and other very sensitive environmental locations. So we've actually come pretty far on making sure that light spill only goes in the direction of the viewer and not towards the sides. And I think that was the older generation signs that they've been able to cure. We did take this item to the Planning Commission for recommendation. There was no concern shared with staff. And I just went out today to take a picture of the monument sign that Lamar has constructed for the city. And so we do have that on our corner of Kalmia and Jefferson. And with that, City Council, we do ask that you conduct a public hearing, receive public comments, find that the action is exempt from California environmental regulations called the Quality Act. And then we'd like for you to introduce the ordinance approving the proposed development agreement attached to the staff report. The development agreement will authorize the relocation or reconstruction of billboards subject to a previously approved relocation agreement. And with that, Council, we're available for any questions.
Thank you, staff, for your report. We appreciate it. I'll bring it back to Council. Council Member DeForest.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor, and thank you for your report. This has been, since I've been elected, and I think I'm the oldest one sitting here, or the longest elected. I think that sounds better. Yeah, that doesn't sound as good. So, yeah. Okay, let's go with that, right? So I'm excited this has finally come forward and that we're moving forward with this. So I love the branding of the city of Murrieta on that, so people know exactly where they are. I think that's super important. We've always talked about that. I like the continuity of the look of the billboard, looking very similar to our monument sign. But more so than that, can you tell me if we're going to be able to advertise for, the biggest complaint is that people don't know about the event, say at the park or the amphitheater. What will we be able to advertise information for our community members on these billboards?
I'm happy to say that it's written into the agreement. Public service announcements can be part of these sites, and we do intend to utilize that because for city events or for even emergency situations, those signs are going to be very, very helpful for the community.
Thank you for that. And annually, what do you think that the city will be able to expect in revenue approximately for these signs, such like this?
So for each sign, and a total of 4 signs will be constructed. For each sign, we're going to get $250,000. So at the end of the day, that's $1 million cold cash. On an annual basis, we'll be able to get at least $100,000 for rent. And so 1.1 million at the end of the first year.
Thank you. And that will be general fund money.
I believe it goes back to the fund. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I think that's all I have for now. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember DeForest. Councilmember Holliday?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I want to commend you and your team for putting together this agreement, and Lamar for their willingness to do a lot of things that they wouldn't necessarily have to do. I know this predates everyone on this council when this whole billboard thing started years ago. And even though we're constructing 4 new ones, we're actually reducing the total number of billboards in the city, correct?
And I would like to highlight that Scott Gagini is on vacation. He did a lot of heavy lifting along with David and some other partners. I kind of showed up last in cycle. But to your point, though, forgive me, Holiday, if you could repeat the question, I apologize. I got ahead of myself.
I was just telling you how great you were. No, no. Ultimately, we have less billboards in the city today than we did before, correct?
Yeah, and the consolidation reduces blight, because this is why City Council had to have a moratorium on these. We did not want more and more billboard signs. We do have the luxury of 2 freeways that go through our city. And so through a smart approach, I think that as we consolidate and remove some of the signs, we can reconstruct and improve the other signs.
And I did read the staff report, and I was impressed with the level of detail of what Lamar has agreed to. The no flashing lights, no video displays, no motion, different types of advertising content that's not allowed. They placed a lot of restrictions, or agreed to place a lot of restrictions on themselves for these billboards to look nice within our city. So I appreciate that from Lamar, and great job from the staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Holliday. I just want to reassure the public that, when you're coming up south on the 15 freeway and you're making that little bend in the road, and you see this huge overspill of light from the outlet sign in Lake Elsinore, that is not going to happen. That these are highly sophisticated signs, that there's no overspill. It will not give you that glowing look. You will see it as you pass, and then you can just move on forward. Is that correct?
Correct. In the agreement, the maximum lumen value is 4050, and that's a normal industry standard. So even at nighttime, it's not going to be above what the standard is, and then in the daytime, you would not notice any type of brightness. But yeah, the technology allows it to be moderated. Mm-hmm. So if there are concerns at any given time, Lamar can adjust that, and we can always reach out to them if we have any concerns ourselves.
Excellent. And I also want to reiterate what Councilmember Holliday has said, that keeping a high standard for what goes on these signs is important to a family-oriented community, and we are that. And we're very grateful for your stepping up and going above what you needed to do. So make sure that Murrieta stays a great city that it is without bad advertising, and we do appreciate that. Or undesirable, I should say, maybe not bad. Sorry. Are there any other questions from council? Seeing none, at this time, I'd like to open the public hearing. City Clerk, is there any public testimony?
Seeing none.
Thank you. I'll bring it back for deliberation one more time. Council, any other? I'm going to close the public hearing, and I have a motion from Councilmember DeForest and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Lavelle. Please vote.
Motion carries unanimously, 4-0.
Thank you, staff, very much. Congratulations. We're now going to move on to a discussion item number 13. Discussion of concept for weekly food truck event at Town Square Park. Staff, may we please have your report? Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Warren and members of the City Council. I'm Kristen Crane, Assistant City Manager, and together Brian Ambrose, Community Services Director, and myself will present to you on item 13, which is a concept that's been presented to staff for a food truck weekly event here in the city of Murrieta. The city was approached by Wanderlust Events about the possibility of hosting a weekly food truck event at the Town Square Park. The event organizer is currently hosting similar events in Hemet and Banning. So the way the event is envisioned is that it would be held on weekly on Wednesday evenings, year-round, and that the event itself would be open to the public from 5 to 10 p.m. and the setup would begin at 2:30 in the afternoon until 5, and then the cleanup would occur from about 10 to 11. The food trucks would be set up on the Loop Road at our Town Square Park along the perimeter of the circle there, and the amphitheater stage would not be used for the event. Just that loop road was where the food trucks would be set up. The event organizer would make all the arrangements for all of the logistical details, coordinating with the food trucks and being responsible for all the other components such as setup, tear down, the tables, chairs, marketing, trash collection and disposal, as well as security. Also the health department regulations for food safety and ensuring that the vendors have all the necessary business licenses, insurance, and so forth. And then lastly, they would also be using the park restrooms and the additional lights. There's a normal level of lighting that would be out there like on an evening like tonight, and then there's additional lighting that can be turned on for special events, and they would be using that lighting. So in terms of the financial aspects of this, the event organizer would like all of the fees and deposits that would normally be in play for something like this to be waived. So these are estimated just based on a very preliminary look, but in terms of the one-time fees, those are valued at just under $2,300, and then recurring fees per event is under $1,500 per event. I'm going to go into those in a little bit more detail. So the one-time fees include, normally there's an application fee. Whenever we have a special event, we bring together our special event committee, which includes staff from the various departments to review it and make sure that all of the checks and balances are in play with regard to the fire department, police department, and so forth. And then we also typically charge a deposit in case there's any damage. So those are the one-time types of fees. And then recurring fees, we would recommend that, considering the city is the owner of this facility and it's one of our pride and joy for us, that it would be important to have a staff person from the Community Services Department on site during the event, just to kind of keep an eye and make sure if anything comes up that they're available. And then in addition, we also would have someone from the fire department. A fire inspector is usually involved with inspecting the food trucks. And again, we're still working through the details of exactly what that would look like, but this is just a concept of kind of minimally what we have been thinking. So the combined cost of staff for those two positions is about $802 per event. And then in addition, there's some fees associated with stocking the restrooms and a use fee for the park rental. That's around $400. And then also a use fee for the high-powered lights. And those fees are coming straight out of the City Council adopted user fee schedule that we have in place for all of our different facilities and so forth. So if the consensus of the City Council is that you're interested in moving forward with this concept, there are some additional details that we would need to address. For example, fine-tuning what the fire inspection level of service would need to be, any additional concerns that the police department might have, allowing for event signage, what that would need to look like. There could be well, I shouldn't say could be, there would be additional requirements if alcohol was being served, and then also staffing coverage for a weekly event. We have a lot of city-sponsored events that we host, and as it is, we're drawing on our regular public works team and community services team to support those in addition to their regular responsibilities. And so it's overtime, and sometimes we hit a threshold of limit on how much overtime people are interested in because they also want to spend time with their family. So that's something that we would need to keep in mind as well. So also want to share just some additional context in terms of thinking about this proposal. The City Council has expressed interest in seeing expanded use of the Town Square Park and seeing more special events that promote engagement with the community. And at the same time, the City Council has been sensitive about subsidizing events, especially considering other budget considerations. So those are just other things to keep in mind. I also want to share that we have our Town Square use policy framework that the City Council adopted in April 2023, which was envisioned to be a 2-year pilot. And so just a couple of council meetings ago, you reestablished the Town Square Park ad hoc committee that's going to revisit the framework and also take a look at the fee schedule, because we've heard about that, and then also tying in the signature events and how we support those. So those conversations are just starting. We haven't even had our first meeting yet with the ad hoc committee, but because this proposal was brought forward and there's interest by the event sponsor to move forward more quickly, we wanted to bring this forward to you to have that for you to be able to consider. Similarly, with one other piece I want to share is currently under that framework, the way it works is those who can make a reservation to use the space to host an event are local nonprofit organizations. And it's not available for private individuals or commercial entities to just call us up and reserve the park and host an event. With Newman Hospitality, we have an agreement with them. And so that's the proposed approach with this concept as well. If it's something that the City Council wants to pursue, we would be entering an agreement with Wanderlust Events for this event series. So at this point, we are seeking your direction on how or whether you would like to proceed. We have identified a few alternatives for you to consider, and this is just a starting place. You're not locked into these possibilities, but something for you to consider. So the first option would be to apply all of the standard fees. This is consistent with our approach for other events and different inquiries that we have. It would be the easiest for us to administer, but at the same time, it may be cost prohibitive for the event sponsor, and they may opt to not want to proceed to host this event here. Another option would be for you to allow a pilot program to waive the fees for a limited series of events and evaluate how it goes and decide how you would want to proceed. And initially, like we were saying, the cost per individual event's about $1,500. So depending upon how long you would want the pilot period to be would impact what the amount of money would be for that. And another option would be for you to negotiate reduced fees, and then we would work with the event organizer and come to some sort of place in between and see what we could negotiate with them. And then another option also would be to share the risk with the event host in terms of what they would want to contribute in terms of paying, and as they would make this investment, and us, the city, also perhaps absorbing some of that cost. And again, like I said, these are just some preliminary ideas for you if you are interested, and we would welcome hearing from you more feedback. So we are here this evening to have you provide us with your direction. If it is something that the City Council wants to move forward with, then the next step would be for us to work with Wanderlust to develop an agreement. And realistically, based on the City Council meeting schedule, I think the earliest we would be able to bring that back to you is at the council meeting on August 19th. So just for expectations and context, since we have our first meeting in August is going to be dark. So with that, Brian and I are happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much.
And one other thing, I also want to note that the representatives from Wanderlust are here this evening if you would like to ask them any questions as well.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to bring this back to council questions, and I'm going to start. Ron just gave me the look. I have many concerns, and I'm going to start with a few of them. First of all, every week, too much, in my opinion. I think it will be detrimental to our local surrounding restaurants and food eateries, and doing something perhaps once a month might be more advantageous for our community. I think this would be a special event that people would like to go to perhaps on a monthly basis, not on a weekly basis. I'm thinking out loud. I really believe that this needs to be incorporated in our ad hoc committee for consideration and really look at the fee structure. When you start a business, doing business costs money, and fees are a part of starting a business. And I do believe that the city should not have to bear those costs. That's my personal opinion on that. Also, sales tax. That's a big key in all of this. How do they guarantee that the sales tax for us and Measure T is collected properly? Anything that is made that is hot needs to have a sales tax. How do we mitigate that? How do we control it? And how do we make sure it's collected and properly dispersed to Murrieta? That's extremely important, and that needs to be done. But that's an area that doesn't just go with food trucks. That goes with other types of businesses as well. The idea for a special event, doing this maybe once a month or once a quarter, I love that idea. New, special, be a meeting place. It would be fun and it would be unique. But I think before we do anything, we do not have a food truck policy in place. I do think we need to have that in place first. Those are just some of my comments. I'll now yield to my colleagues, and we'll start with Councilmember Holliday.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, Scott Agajanian's not here tonight. And so one of you two is going to have to bump that energy level up, because I know he's a huge proponent of this. He wanted to start it the day it was brought forward. He wanted to go out there and start eating barbecue and all the different offerings those food trucks would bring. So yeah, it's, I guess the questions I have, I'll save my comments for after public hearing. The questions I have, I actually would like to hear from police and fire on their thoughts of this event. Looks like fire is first. Do we have someone from police here?
Welcome, Chief.
So you're going to speak for both, Chief?
Happy to.
Dual hats now, right?
Chief Henry just had to step out.
Okay.
Hopefully he'll return. From the fire department's perspective, anything that gathers a crowd, we obviously want to know about so we can plan for it and have, the right staffing levels so we can address any emergency that would come up. We would have concerns about egress access, how they're getting into the loop road, how we would get people out of there in emergency. And we would want to make sure that when we came up with a plan, that plan would be the plan we had every week, because we would pre-plan our fire attack, how we would get hose lines in if one of these vehicles, which does have cooking inside of it was to catch on fire. And then as far as the inspector, I would have to work with our fire marshal to find out exactly what we would be inspecting for a specific food truck. We do have our inspection that we do for pop-up restaurants when we have events. We would have to modify that to be specific for a food truck, and that's work still to be done.
So you're not ready at this point to render a decision of what kind of hours that would take or on an ongoing basis?
No, again, that would be very dependent on the number of units that arrived, how many.
I think the number I heard was 40.
40. That would be several hours to get through that. And once, like with anything else, once your vendors start to understand what the expectations of them is, you will see an increase in compliance. But for the first several times, it would take a lot to get people into compliance.
And that's every event?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we do our barbecue every single year. We have a lot of vendors there, but it's the first time they come to the city every single year. So it's like starting over every single time.
This obviously would get easier depending how frequent the events were, it would get easier at time, but it's still going to take at least one person, if not more, to do those inspections every event.
For 40 units, because they're going to want to pull up and get to work as quickly as possible, we would need at least 2 inspectors to get through there, so they would each be doing about 20.
Okay, so we could factor that into the costs that you guys are working on. Okay, thank you. And I'll reserve my questions for Chief Henry if he returns.
Yeah, and just quickly, I don't believe Chief Henry will be able to return this evening. We didn't get quite as far as consulting with the people that would be typically involved in some of the special event coordination. We wanted to get some direction primarily from council first, because if it's something you choose not to do, then we kind of mitigate that. But certainly we could make sure to get some analysis if that's important before we have a broad direction forward.
The fire was more important than the police. I think if I remember right, they were going to provide their own security. So it may just be an initial review of what they're providing the first time or two, and then not require anything more from police after that. That's all the questions I have. I'll have comments after.
Thank you so much. Moving on to Councilmember DeForest.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple questions. Do we currently have a food truck policy?
We do not.
Okay, because I remember meeting with Downtown Market Night a couple times about our food truck policy, which we obviously need to have a food truck policy. Another thing is, so Kristen, you mentioned $1,500 per event. So what's proposed to us right now is one event a week. So that would be $6,000 a month in cost. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Sure. Mayor Pro Tem LaBelle.
Just kind of on the financials of this with the 6,000-ish per month, kind of wanted to propose how much sales would we need to have to just break even on that if the sales tax is, I think Mr. Klein put a letter in here, if a $15 sandwich brings 30 cents of sales tax to the Measure T, that's a lot of food. And I don't know what Market Night sees. I'm sure we have some anecdotal, probably actually some pretty accurate numbers we could reference, but the type of traffic they see, the type of traffic the vendor would, maybe there's some intelligence on what this area would bring in that area. But the cost for the event butted up against the projected revenue, I'm having a hard time making justification for that. So just wanted to kind of pose that question out there.
Thank you.
If I could,
Sure, go ahead.
we have not done any extensive tax analysis, although I believe the primary benefit, like most special event types of activities, is the value for community connectedness. Very few of them, and what we've realized with our original fee structure and to some extent the impetus to re-engage the subcommittee, is that it tends to be prohibitive to get the kind of activation that we think council has been looking for, and none of them really recover costs. They probably pencil out a little differently depending on the effort, and that's another thing we've done to work with the other special events that are governed by an agreement, is to try to right size our participation versus the obligation of the event organizers to minimize costs. But even in that scenario, I doubt very much that we would recover or come out ahead in sales tax collection. Not even close.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no more questions from City Council. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments regarding this item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Casson Klein.
We have it.
I believe you all got these at all.
We have them.
I'll give you one anyway.
Tree
Kristen, did you say that there would be a development agreement?
It wouldn't be a development agreement. We have a license agreement in place with Newman Hospitality, so something similar.
Because there's an application fee for a development agreement, so.
So a lot to unpack here. You got my letter. I hope you read it. I guess, there's a recurring theme that I hear in, my sarcastic humor. You've heard me say, are we really connected by community? And it says in the staff report that that's the goal. But have we reached out to the community? Have we reached out to Market Night people to see if an alternative, if they wanted to relocate here? Have we reached out to the immediate adjacent restaurants and businesses? God bless you.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry.
I tried to hold it.
Don't be sorry.
I apologize.
You know, in my letter, I mentioned, you know, on a development application, we come to hearing, we're required to provide the city mailing labels of a 300-foot radius. You know, if we're truly connected by community, when are we going to start doing outreach? And that's a challenge. It's a challenge for you, my elected representatives, to challenge staff to do this. You know, Newman Hospitality, that RFP was put out and there was one person that answered it, and it was Newman Hospitality. One person coming to the city. Hey, that's great, they're coming to the city, but why does staff not turn around and go back out to the community and ask the question, hey, if this person's interested in it, let's see if somebody else is. I mean, I can envision, in talking with Casey and Connie earlier, I think if we relocated Market Night here, it would blow up with music on the stage and food on the ring road and the vendors of the trinkets and tchotchkes on the grass. It would rival Oceanside and the other market nights. My opening on my letter to you, recent previous experience reveals that these quasi-public-private ventures overpromise and underdeliver for the city. We have to look no further than the Los Alamos Hills Sports Park soccer complex and Newman Hospitality Amphitheater use. Both agreements were renegotiated shortly after inception. You know, I believe this operator was the operator that worked up at, that had a food truck event up at Village Walk. You know, is it going to be the same thing? So, you know, this has to go back to the drawing board. And so, Mayor Warren, I was pleased to hear your comments and questions, because I think you're going down the right road. But certainly, from my perspective, there's not enough evidence to make a decision tonight, even to move forward. If you want to take it back to the ad hoc, I would encourage you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark and John, I didn't go over.
I didn't even have to say, finish your thought. I'm so impressed.
Casey Gerardo.
I know I'm walking funny. I'm old, Ron. Oh, come on. Number one, happy birthday, Murrieta. I want to say that. First and foremost, I've been here since 1989, and I'd like to say that I've watched the city progress, mainly in great strides and in wholly good areas, but there are some areas that city council and city staff have definitely been remiss in, and I'd have to say that that's the downtown area. I'm now calling the downtown area Main Street Murrieta for a reason. I've been to several seminars with Main Street America and Main Street California, and they have some protocol on how to revitalize downtown. Now, we've worked very hard at market nights to establish a community gathering place, and it's successful. And that's what this is supposed to be, at the amphitheater. I understand your need to get the amphitheater to a place where you have events and you can justify the effort that you've put into it. But I'd also like to see you guys, as city council, put some effort in downtown Murrieta, Main Street Murrieta. And this would definitely affect Main Street Murrieta and market nights in a very negative way. First and foremost, I've got to talk about the restaurants. These restaurants here, not all of them do great. Some of them struggle. Just a 20% loss in cash flow would be monumental for these restaurants. And that's where community gathers right now. You don't need to create something else. It's there right now. If an event's going to happen at the amphitheater, it needs to be something completely different, something that's not going to take away food and commerce from what we need to establish as an economic ecology. We're not there yet. We really aren't. We've got growth, we've got apartments coming, we've got more citizenry coming, but we don't have the economic ecology that we need yet. And we need to work on that, we really do. And we need to work on downtown Murrieta specifically. I'm going to call it Main Street again, because that's what it needs to be called. It's not going to go away. It's not going to fix itself. And I hear from all of you, and I'm going to say all of you, I'm going to call you all out on this. The public sector's not going to fix it. You guys are going to fix it. There's no incentives. You guys haven't once mentioned the specific plan that was written in 2017 with guidelines, recommendations, developmental and non-developmental. And you're focusing on the amphitheater? Come on, guys. This city needs a view, it needs a vision for downtown Murrieta. And secondarily, after the restaurants, we're looking at Murrieta Market Nights. We have worked hard to pull the community together on the streets in Main Street, Murrieta. We've accomplished it. Please don't shake it up. Thank you.
Connie McConnell.
I have your staff report. Talk fast. We're here tonight to discuss the concept for a weekly food truck event at Town Square Park. Your staff report states that the goal of this project is, and I quote, foster and promote an engaged, connected, and caring community. While a food truck event is interesting, it does not provide all of the things that our market does for the community. Let's look at the differences. By the way, our tagline is where community gathers. Casey and I are longtime local residents who really care about our city and what the market gives back to the community. We have spent countless hours of blood, sweat, and tears, yes, tears produced by dealing with vendors and the public, not to mention your city officials, to make our market a success. Wanderlust Events is a complete outsider who is not connected physically or emotionally to our town and does not understand the people or their needs, nor does it align with the City Council's goal of to foster and promote engaged, connected, and caring community. The demographics of our city and surrounding area cannot possibly support a once-a-week food truck event, a twice-a-month market, and our local brick-and-mortar restaurants. Before expanding our food vendors, we did surveys, plus walked and talked to our local restaurants. Most of our food is not dinner fare. It is candy, honey, popcorn, ice cream, etc. Only a small portion of our vendors would replace a regular dinner. The survey reaction was that we increased local traffic and actually also increased sales by 30% on market days. A food truck event at Town Square Park would not increase foot traffic or attendance in our downtown. A once-a-week total of 40 food trucks would devastate the local restaurants. Ask Cruz Tacos what they would think of that. Wanderlust Events could care less about what happens to our local businesses. We do care. Our market nights is more than just a market, bringing together friends and family to visit, enjoy a jump house or petting zoo and get their faces painted or just shop. Most of our vendors are local or from the town next door. Food trucks would be coming from a much larger demographic area. Wanderlust Events is fairly new and does not have the track record of benefiting our community. Our market has proven that we are capable of promoting and producing an ongoing successful event, which also includes music, school art, and other community interests. Have I mentioned that our information booth is where people can ask questions regarding the city and actually get correct answers? We promote all city functions. It's not just a market. It's called multitasking. We provide family. There is something for children, pets, seniors, moms, dads, and even city staff. If the city chooses to add this event, it is in direct competition with our market and will take away business. As a small nonprofit business, we are concerned about the serious potential impact to continue to operate in the community we love and care about. I'm asking the council to seriously consider their decision and the harm that it could cause to what has become a favorite community event, not just a market. Remember your goal, promote community. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes public comments, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I'm going to bring it back up to the council for discussion or comments. And I'll start with Mayor Pro Tem Lavelle.
Thank you.
Say something.
I have been around long enough to have seen the hard work that Casey and Connie have put into Old Town, market nights, Main Street America, Murrieta, whatever you're going to call it. I'm open to all those suggestions. I think it's all cool. If Casey, could you come up? I have a question for you.
Ron, don't laugh at how I walk.
You're getting better. You're like, your knees are warming up.
They're warming up.
Thank you for coming up again.
Of course.
So the concept of providing something else for the community in a different area than where you guys are focusing on.
Yes.
I love that concept.
Yes.
The Wanderlust company kind of trying to fill that void right now. I think it's a good attempt. I think it's a draft of like what we were trying to do or what could be done there. Is there anything you've been thinking of with what you're doing at Old Town Market Night that would fit well there? Have you guys went down that road at all?
Well, excuse me, I'm up here. Anyway, yes, we have. Now, I have to remind council again that we have a 7-long-year running nonprofit called Murrieta Arts Council. We submitted to council and to city staff an art and public places policy. We've heard nothing about that, okay? We came to the Arts Council, MAC. We came to the city to see if we could do an open mic night community event there. Community, I'm gonna say community. We've been doing it at the alleyway successfully for 4 years now. And we went to the city and asked if we could do it there. And we were told it was gonna be a fee schedule of $11,000. Now, that's not fitting in with Art and Public Places policy compared to other cities. And so this is what we're up against. So we would love to do something. It could be a combination of the Arts Council, Main Street Murrieta, and Market Nights, gladly. I mean, we're capable of doing all those things.
You know, even being a nonprofit, I know the fee schedule, I've talked to Kristen, council, Justin's been involved in several. That is problematic due to the cost being the cost of what they are. And City Manager Clifton, if you could maybe opine on alternatives or thoughts you have on how I forget the specifics, but there were some ideas on maybe how to mitigate some of that going forward to help that be a more usable space.
Yeah, I think part of the challenge is just creating balance between the interest of having activated spaces, wherever they may be, where community tends to connect, and mitigating potential investment of dollars, of public dollars, in a time when we're very budget constrained. So I think the ad hoc committee is meant to really dig into some of those issues. What we've been confident about, based on the input we've gotten from council, is that we don't have that balance today. No. So what we've done historically over time is when we've had people present us ideas, some of those have been to help subsidize long-running special events. Some of them have been private contracts like Newman. We've done something similar with Market Nights. When we had an agreement that just wasn't really working, we've tried to revisit those things and work cooperatively with whoever has approached us to figure out if it would work, to seek policy direction from council if it's something that you want to see. So that's not quite an answer to the direct ideas of mitigating potential losses. The things we've done historically are try to shift as much of that burden to the organizers of events, minimize the reliance on city staff. I think Market Nights was another good example where we had maybe more presence than we needed. We did something very similar with Newman, try to mitigate our costs. At the end of the day, probably that balance necessitates some amount of financial investment, considering the public benefit of just having activities in the community, like our special events, like the city hosted special events. We pay for them. We don't recover the funds for the birthday bash. It's a celebration for the community. So finding that right balance in these instances too, where we probably spend a little something, we support these events, private and public, whatever they may be, while not getting so far out in front of our skis, so to speak, that we're spending money we don't have, that we're spending hours that we really don't have. And I don't know quite where that sweet spot is. To some extent, dealing with these as a one-off, I think, is helping us kind of consider the various ways that these events might manifest and how that partnership might manifest in hopes that it will illuminate what that answer is, if that helps at all.
I appreciate the input. Casey, just the road you've been on for developing what you've done, you and Connie and everyone else involved, I know it may feel like the city hasn't always been supportive in the certain nodes of those discussions, but I can tell you wholeheartedly, we all appreciate that there, because I think we all know it wouldn't be there currently if it wasn't for both of your efforts. I'm confident with Justin's leadership and our dialogue, we'll come up with as many ways as we can to make as many things as we can happen that makes sense for the community.
Good. Well, I'd like to say this. As far as the sweet spot's concerned, we can actually create an event where we get enough sponsorships to where we're offsetting a lot of the city costs. Okay, that's something we've been having in discussion at our board meetings with the Murrieta Arts Council. It's been a very frustrating journey for the Arts Council to get this far. And we developed this art and public places policy when Dominique was here with 4 USC grad students. It was their project. It's comprehensive.
Yeah.
And how many of you looked at it?
I did.
I did.
Fantastic.
I remember it seemed more comprehensive than I thought there could be for an arts policy.
We researched several cities, and Carlsbad had the best one. So anyway, that's the one we tooled in. But back to Justin's comment about that sweet spot. So with sponsorship from local businesses, we can help the city offset some of these local events at the amphitheater.
Yeah.
We're very confident in our capabilities of doing so.
Well, thank you.
And that could even include the school district and art demonstrations like we've done at the alleyway. So
I
that's just one consideration.
I think with that type of thinking outside the box and the staff we have now with Justin's leadership, something's going to happen. We'll figure out something. Lastly, you know, just in the context, I think it was mentioned earlier, the being frugally responsible as we move forward into what we spend in the city, why we spend it, and what we're trying to do. Also with if we try and do everything, we're not going to be good at anything, I think was the gist of it. To no fault of Wanderlust at all, I just think we're in an interesting situation where I think honing in the things we do well and focusing on the things we already have is kind of where I'm leaning with this. And I'm happy to hear from Wanderlust if they plan to come up and talk, or you all have questions. But just my thoughts for now. And again, I just want to be very clear. I am greatly appreciative of all of your efforts and Connie's with everything that's gone into Old Town and the arts policy and whatever other names you have for the things you got going on. Because it does a lot.
Main Street, Murrieta.
It does a lot.
Come on.
Main Street, Murrieta.
Yes.
It's amazing. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And we appreciate the city and all you've done to support us with the 3 nonprofits. But we need a little more help. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask Wanderlust, if you wanted to come up and say a few words. And I know they have some questions for you, so we're just going to go down the line.
Okay.
We're going to start with Councilmember Holliday. You were up first, did you? Okay. Do you want to?
Let me introduce myself, if that's all right. My name is Alexander Yepremian. My brother has a restaurant right across the street, Destination Smokehouse. He's been there for a year, a month. July 4th will be a year. He's been across the street, and he loves Murrieta, and you guys are really taking care of him. For your point, my parents started a farmer's market that lasted 7 years, and so I understand exactly what you're doing. I understand all the work that put into it. They had 150 vendors at the height of their weekly farmer's market. A couple things I want to address. When you were saying about a weekly thing might not be good, we've been doing weekly for the past 15 weeks, and the events are just growing larger and larger and larger and larger. A few of the mayors I've spoken to went to a conference in Sacramento, in Las Vegas, and someone had said every small town needs a food truck festival because it is the wave of the future. If you look at the way Austin started out, Austin, Texas, if you look at Miami, if you look at Maui, all these towns that had a little name now are becoming huge because of their food truck festivals. One more thing I wanted to address with fire. We have the fire inspectors come to our food truck festivals in Banning. Once they've been inspected, they don't need to be inspected a second time the following week. So with the 32 trucks that we have in Banning, it took them about 45 minutes for 2 inspectors to inspect all of the food trucks to look at costs. Any questions? Hello.
I do have a question for
Okay, I'm
you.
done.
On your state of California, you're a limited liability company. It states that you're a photo booth company.
That's not correct.
That's what was highlighted on this.
No, that's not correct.
Okay. It says Wanderlust.
I wish I had a photo booth.
Well,
Make
that's
some
type
money.
of business, photo booth.
That's incorrect.
I think you might want to get that changed. So anyway, that was highlighted on this for us.
This isn't good. Is your agent for service or process Melissa Berrigan?
Nope, never heard that name before.
Okay, so who is this?
Yeah, it's a Wanderlust Events.
You,
That's somebody
okay.
No.
Okay, I think you might have pulled up the wrong one.
Wanderlust Events.
Is it Wanderlust Events LLC?
No.
It is not LLC. There's the difference.
There are about 400 Wanderlust things in the world now. It's a very, very popular name.
Thank you for clearing that up.
But I will get a photo booth if you would like. Oh, darn it. All right, shucks.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for this gentleman?
I do.
Okay.
the coming to the city asking for the fees to be waived, you've done business in Banning and Hemet. Was that the initial ask up front for both those cities? Is that common for food? Seems so straightforward in terms of like, if people are hungry, they're going to buy it. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of negotiation in that matter. So I'm just curious on that tactic or the strategy for that ask.
So thank you very much for the presentation. The things that were in the presentation we did not request the city to pay for. In the initial meeting we had, and we've had with all of the cities that we are at, we've just asked to waive the TUP fee. Yes, I understand starting a business, there are costs. The margins are very small in a food truck festival with us covering the security, event staff, waste removal, lighting in some situations, tables and chairs, permit fees, things like that. It's a very small margin we have. So that was what we had spoken to with Scott originally and Councilmember Holliday. As far as what your staff put together, that's not something we had ever anticipated, your staff fees, because in all fairness, in the festivals we're doing now, we don't require any city staff to be there. That would be something you would choose to do. I'm a very capable human being, and all of my staff can look after your property as we do in all our other locations. With the city of Hemet, my parents, like I said, had a farmer's market there for 7 years. I've been very involved in the community. And so when I brought it to the city, they were like, we need it. It's bringing life. And now 15 weeks on, they've asked to extend to the end of the year instead of an 8-week trial because it's bringing a lot to the community. They've done it on their own free will to provide things for us. They've really gone out of their way, and I don't expect any city to do what Hemet did for us. They put tables, permanent tables, lighting, signage. They've kind of covered everything. Bathrooms as well. With the city of Banning, they don't have a lot of money in Banning, and they tell me that every time I go to a city council meeting. It's true, and you can kind of see that. But the city... Oh, sorry, should I not have said that? I'm sorry. But they've been really good to us as well. The city of Banning had provided lighting. Their public works team put lighting in the parking lot, which is city owned, as well as porta potties that they're taking care of, and we're handling everything else. Because it does, as city manager says, it does more in for the community than it does what the sales tax would be. And to answer your question about sales tax, there's no way that I can guarantee what any of my vendors do. That's not my job or my responsibility to police them. But the calculations we've done for the city of Murrieta, which is 30 to 40 trucks, is about 38,000 every 6 months in sales tax.
Okay. Last question. Did you think about, or would you consider rolling up under the Market Night footprint to establish that footprint here as a local presence and you know, the company, the food truck, and I guess, do we have room for it? Will we have room for it? Is it needed? Okay.
No.
Okay. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember DeForest.
Thank you. Thank you for being here and being straight out of Hemet myself, being on the school board there for 8 years. I know exactly what farmer market you're talking about, which was a very nice farmer's market as well. So,
upscale.
Yes, very nice. So I just have a question just to morph your proposal to us a bit. We have concerts in the park every Saturday. Would you, in July, would you be like opposed to doing something like that?
That was my initial plan when I spoke with Scott, was to partner with one of the events you already have there in the amphitheater. Please understand, I don't understand the legality of the contract you have with the team that does that, but we were under the impression that we couldn't do anything there because of that organization that rents out that was what I was told.
So
originally.
no, this is our private city concerts in the park. So
for
it's
your
a little
city.
bit different, yeah. Not
Listen,
Newman Entertainment.
I will do
yeah.
any community event you want me to do and be a part of.
All right.
Because it is a community event, as is theirs.
Yeah, and you understand that, you know, we really want our Murrieta, you know, market nights to thrive, right?
Correct.
And we want that Main Street Murrieta to thrive. And we have two amazing people that have worked very, very diligent to make that happen. So you can understand why you're coming up against.
100%. Yeah. As I said, my parents did the same thing. And when other events came in to town, they were supportive because they just see that anything added to the community is good. So I've been on both sides. So yes, I do see that.
All right.
Sure.
Thank you so much for your time.
Of course. Thank you.
No other questions? Thank you for coming up and being out here tonight. We
I
appreciate
must say really quickly, this is the most efficient city council I've ever seen.
Oh.
And I've been to a lot of meetings, so thank you guys.
Thank you. Okay, we'll bring it back to council for more discussion. Dr. DeForest, are you finished, or did you have more?
I'd just like to say thank you so much for that information, but I think we need a food policy. We need a food truck policy. We are shooting blind here, and, we're behind the 8 ball unless we get that done. And I really think that should go back to our special events committee. I'd like to see them meet sooner than later. The ad hoc meeting, and I know that's going to be a lot of time as well. So also, when we do something like that too, I've been at several meetings that we didn't give the opportunity to Main Street Murrieta or downtown market nights to actually have food trucks like that because there was no policy. I really don't think that we're being transparent and clear enough, because we didn't allow that to proceed. So just because, I would like to see us be transparent and fair, and with fairness to an existing community event, which definitely has ties to our community. So I thank you so much, and I appreciate all the time and effort, and I'm excited for things to be more avenues for our community to enjoy, but I'm not sure that we have all of the pieces in place for us to move forward with this. So thank you so much.
Councilmember Holliday.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Couple comments. I want to address a couple things. As far as the arts in public places, I just had a conversation today with Assistant City Manager Kristen Crane about that, because it had been brought forward as a policy a couple years ago, and it's kind of not been a priority for the city. I know that work has been done. I did read that report, and we have someone from the community that reached out that wants to move that forward, and so it may be getting further up the priority list than what it has been. When we do our priority setting session, it's a tier 3, which means we want to do it, but it's not going to get any staff time or anything in the immediate future. So maybe that needs to get moved up, and the next time we look at that, we may move that up, because I think it's needed to get that policy in place so something can happen, kind of like Councilmember DeForest said about, well, if we had a food truck policy, maybe we could move forward with something. And so, yeah, so I just wanted to encourage you, don't give up on those ideas, because it's still being talked about. As far as market nights go, the market nights have been hugely successful. In fact, there is one council member from Temecula that comes almost every time.
Mayor from Temecula comes to spoke about.
I don't think he's the mayor currently.
Oh, Stu Stewart?
Yeah, I think it was mayor last year. But Stu Stewart comes regularly, and he always seeks me out because I come regularly. And he always comes up and he says, this is the best market nights. He even said, we tried to replicate it. We didn't. Your guys is better, which for him to say Murrieta did something better is really,
it's huge.
really huge for Stu. So I appreciated that. But he and his wife attend almost every market night. And so it's a testament that even other city leaders are coming and recognizing what you guys are doing. But I know you guys are frustrated at times and feel like you're not getting the attention paid, but the city really has done a lot for market nights. The agreement that we have in place, I know staff has put a lot of effort into it. Public Works puts a ton of effort into it every market night. So I don't want to diminish the work that the city staff has done on that side too, not to diminish your guys either. As far as a policy goes, I hesitate to agree with you, Councilmember DeForest, on creating a food truck policy, because you get into these niche policies and it's like, oh, we can't do that until we have a policy. I think we need a broader policy of what we want to do in general. And then when these proposals come forward, look at them on their merits and see if they fit for something that could do good for Murrieta, that could bring the public together without harming what we already have in place. To Cassin's Klein comment about reaching out to the community, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I've got this great business idea, it doesn't seem genuine on the city's part to say, oh, that's a great idea. Let me go see if somebody else wants to do it. It just, if they're coming forward and they're doing it somewhere else and they say, we'd like to do it in your town, I'm inclined to say, well, you came up with the idea. Let's see how it fits with the city. And if we can make it work, make it work. I definitely think the policy we need is a pilot program policy that allows these things to happen. I love your idea about doing them with movie nights. The people are already here, so they're not taking away from downtown. They're here to watch the movie. And I would like to see some sort of pilot program that we can implement, again, that doesn't hurt our existing programs that we have in place. It probably does need to end up at some point back with the ad hoc committee.
That's right.
For sure. Like I said, if we could figure out a pilot program just to test run and see. I know Scott, when he was talking about it, he said we can do the cell phone data thing to see what kind of traffic it generates. And, and the other thing I wanted to share my thoughts on was the fees. I'm not a fan of waiving fees 100%. Yeah, we charge the market nights a nominal fee, and we do spend a lot more money on that than we get in the fee. But it's for the community. And ultimately, I think I've mentioned this to Casey, our vision is that the town square amphitheater will tie into all of downtown. Whether we have a trolley that circulates through that area, which Patrick and I have talked about, if we ever bought actual permanent vehicles for the Santa runs, that maybe when they're not doing Santa runs, it could be a little trolley that runs between City Hall and downtown and through the amphitheater and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas. I really think we need to come up with some sort of pilot program for these ideas that then, and maybe it's the ad hoc committee that looks at it and fits them into what the city is doing, weighing all those pros and cons. That's my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Having somebody interested in our city is exciting. It really is. Doesn't matter who it is. But I do feel they have to have skin in the game. And to waive fees just because they're a new entity, I just don't agree with that. There are costs with everything this city does. And if that even means changing out toilet paper and cleaning a bathroom, there are costs with that. And I think that that's cost that a new business should have to absorb if they're using a city facility. And those are just small little things. Where this belongs is we need to get our fee structure in line. And it needs to be more realistic. It needs to be more welcoming. And we need to not lose money all the time also. But partnering is very important. It's very important that we partner, because when we partner, as we say, we connect. And connecting is what this city is all about. So I would like to see this brought back to the ad hoc committee. And yes, maybe a pilot program policy, maybe a food truck policy. But first and foremost, we need a fee structure policy that works. And that's where we need to start. And, having them come out and try it on our Saturday night concerts in the park, but every week right now, we're just not there yet, and not even close. So my direction or my hope would be that we could agree to bring it back, send it back to the ad hoc committee. Let's get that committee meeting sooner rather than later. Let's look at all of these avenues and all the nuances that we've run up against now that we've had all these situations. And let's see how we can fix this to benefit everybody, but not compete with existing business at the same night, because that is a detriment to this community. And we don't want that to happen.
I think we should keep it local. I'm totally about the pilot program. I'm 35-year resident.
Thank you, ma'am. You're out of order. I apologize. No, that's okay. Thank you. So I don't think anybody's opposed to listening to new ideas, but I think we need to get our ducks in a row first before we set up something. Would that be agreeable with everybody? Back to the ad hoc committee and see where we stand?
When would that be?
We're going to meet quickly, soon. Kristen's doing this. I already asked her about that the other day.
Point of clarity.
Yes, sir.
I like everything that was said. Do we want to not, if the vendor would like to do the Saturday night movies thing, because that's coming up.
Concerts in the park.
Concerts in the park. If they would like to do that, have that discussion first on top of continuing with the ad hoc committee and letting that evolve to the final answer. But if there's a benefit now that maybe, I don't think we need 40 trucks for the movie night or the concerts in the park, I wouldn't want to stop that from happening if that's something that could benefit in the near future, something we're already doing that would be no competition to what's going on at Market Night.
If I could just add real quickly.
Sure.
So our special events supervisor is out on vacation for 2 weeks. We're staffing wise in CSD right now.
Yeah.
The next person in line would not have the capacity to oversee that I would feel comfortable.
So does that leave any movie or concerts in the park dates?
So concerts in the park start Saturday.
This
coming Saturday.
And they go for 1 month, right?
Correct.
If I may,
Go ahead.
I don't know that I would put that on the backs of CSD. I would not envision this event being put on the backs of CSD. I would imagine that being on other staff.
Typically, all special events would go through the special events committee. So we don't have an application. We don't, as for police and fire, we don't have any kind of safety plans in place just yet. Those things will take a little bit of time.
That's why I think that the ad hoc committee needs to address this, but with that in mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Could we get an ad hoc committee meeting scheduled quickly?
Yes, we will do that.
Okay. And then let's go ahead. Yes, sir?
I'm only going to emphasize what we're hearing from Mr. Ambrose, which is that with 4 weeks of these concert series, even to bring something back from the ad hoc committee for council consideration, that report would need to be written tomorrow or Thursday, and we don't have another meeting in August. It's not realistic.
But we
to
still
happen
need
in
to
the next
meet
4
soon
weeks.
because we need to get started on this and we need to move forward one way or another. Correct? Okay. So we'll do that. We'll look at a pilot program, see where that puts us, look at the fee schedules. Let's see if we can hone this in and get it down and see where we go from there. We're just not ready and we're not there yet, unfortunately. So is that what everybody would agree to?
Yeah. Okay. Just to say, Wanderlust, we want you here. We just don't know how and when, and we'll hopefully find something that does make sense for everyone. Yeah.
For everyone, right? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Did we given you enough direction, staff?
Yes, thank you very much. It was really helpful.
Okay. Terrific. Thank you very much. Let's see, Madam City Clerk, reconsideration.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, I was completely engaged in that. Any council member who voted on the prevailing side of the original motion may move a reconsideration to consider new information or correct inadvertent errors on a non-public hearing item at the same or the next meeting. At this time, are there any requests from City Council for reconsideration? Seeing none, Madam Mayor.
Okay. City Council members request to add or withdraw items for future agenda. Madam City Clerk.
Now is the time for council member requests to add or withdraw items to future agendas. There will be no discussion on the requests. A brief explanation of the requests may be given. The merit of the items being requested may not be discussed or debated. Are there any City Council requests? Seeing none, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Before we adjourn this evening's meeting, I'd like to turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem John Lavelle.
Thank you, Mayor. Give me a second to change wardrobe.
Okay.
Do we need music?
Might need music, yeah. Almost.
Yeah.
These tailored shirts, no way.
John, you're not supposed to be able to accept sponsor names?
It's too late. So I appreciate the microphone for a little bit. If you guys haven't seen the news, we had a local kid die this past weekend in a mammoth race, motocross race. His name was Aiden Zing. Lived in Greer Ranch basically his entire life. Close family friend of mine. Quite the amazing kid. Not even mentioning his talent on the motorcycle. He was one of the nicest young boys I've ever known in my life. He was on the Monster Energy Kawasaki race team. I can't imagine what his parents are going through. I love them all dearly, and I would just invite all of you, if you don't know about him, go to his Instagram, Facebook, read about him, watch his videos. He's a great kid. And if you know his parents or you see him, show him what Murrieta is all about, because they obviously are going to need it. And pray for them, because that's probably the only thing that would help right now. I appreciate the time. And I'd like to have just a moment of silence for Aiden Zing. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, I adjourn the meeting.
John, we were there at